This is Pirates of the Mesozoic, starring Craig Smith. Smith, right? Donald Von Griffin, Kieran Torres, Leslie Danneberger, Glenn Montgomery, and me, the GM, Brandon Blackmore. Tonight's game brought to you by Kraken Rum and Pop will eat itself.
I thought that was a fun one time. He said it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's they're actually a pretty rockin' band. I don't know if they use that intro again, but it's.
I meant the alcohol.
Oh, sorry. Well, the one real strength Kraken has going for it is that it's cheap. That's really it.
It's cheap.
Okay.
And it tastes better than Bowman's Virginia rum. Which is it's like $1.99 in a liter. So it's more expensive than that, but anyway.
But it's actually pretty good. I like it better than Gosling's. I prefer a spiced over an unspiced. So for a dark rum, I'll take it over a Gosling.
For most purposes, I prefer spiced rum. Not all of them, but for most purposes. All right, so last week, what did we do? Last week, everybody died. So no, you were in your mobile broadcast unit, and
we woke up. We were on a beach.
Lloyd's character crashed the truck into another universe. So this is all on Lloyd's character.
You should have seen the size of it. It was huge, man. I couldn't avoid it.
Man, what is our insurance going to say?
An alternate universe just ran out in front of me.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to tell him that the van is a write-off.
Oh, I found a picture of a guy who looks kind of like the guy in the picture you sent me, Lloyd. So tell me whether this works for you, because the one you sent me was a cartoon. Tell me whether this works for like the actual normal guy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's basically it.
Cool beans. Awesome. John Erlang.
Yeah, that's him before he becomes a god. Yeah.
Well, you're still gonna look like this, so that's not gonna change.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to pick up the robes. They're not gonna magically appear.
Oh, you little thing.
Yeah, well, I gotta pick up the Jedi robes too.
According to my powers list, I don't.
Well, some things will magically appear.
I haven't come up with an idea for who I want to look like my character.
Alrighty.
Actually,
Brandon, that wasn't a cartoon. It's a picture of a
action figure.
Maquette.
Yeah.
Like a once size maquette.
Yeah, look up the guy from Destination Truth. I can picture my character looking like him.
This is not the picture Lloyd sent me, but it's a picture of the same action figure, or statue or whatever.
Yeah, I just taken the stupid little crown he was wearing on his head, so I photoshopped it out.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Cool.
I did not notice that the one you sent me was missing the hat.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I photoshopped it out because I thought it looked kind of dumb. As opposed to the rest of his costume, which is completely masculine and not at all silly.
It's royal. It's not silly. It's
Imperial. Celestial.
Yeah, celestial. Totally badass. Totally badass. All right. What am I doing? Vixen, what was I doing? All right. So you guys, or rather John, crashes the mobile broadcast unit into a body of water. You get close to the shore. You dive out. You're attacked by a crinoid. Crinoid?
I know, something.
Gigantic, prehistoric, very simple animal.
Giant bone.
And Kieran's character and Captain Harrow's, Donald's character, both get dragged into the water, and is freed by a shotgun blast from Sam Winston, a stranger who you meet, and Captain Harrows is dragged under.
Actually,
and
other way around.
Oh, is that the other way around?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought Captain Harrows is the
Yeah,
one who got dragged under.
the blast freed me. The
Oh.
next time I almost died was trying to get stuff from the truck.
Right, when you get
Oh, that's right. That's right. You got dragged under a second time by a water-dwelling dinosaur with big
Yeah.
teeth. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, generaling helps free everybody. Everybody gets loose. Blah blah blah. You all get back to the edge of the water where you meet Sam Winston, who I may as well show you him again. Why not? Sam Winston, who looks basically just like this. So there you go. Except he's wearing a big heavy duster, and he has a shotgun. And he mentions that he has 14 shells left. Like, as far as he knows, in this universe, there are 14 more shells for his shotgun.
Right.
So he's a little bit stingy when he uses them. But you guys seem to need help, so I used one. He used to
We
be 15.
appreciate it.
What?
And if I had the right
We
tools,
appreciate it.
if I had the right tools, right raw materials, I could make more bullets.
You absolutely could. You just got to find the parts. So, he's on his way to a town called Tranquility, which he explains to you while you continue walking toward the town called Tranquility. And he gives you like a brief, if a bit terse, rundown of the situation, which is that way, the way he came from is Wanquo, which is where there's a Chinaman town there. And he's on his way to Tranquility, and further down the coast, several days away, walking, is what did he call these guys? Mexican Indians is what he called them. There's a town of Mexican Indians who attack from time to time, but they don't have guns, and they seem more interested in taking prisoners than killing people, so they're usually pretty easy to drive off. And then there's pirates that come around once in a while, and they don't really have as many guns, but they do have cannons. So there's like a truce between Tranquility and the pirates, and also they trade, because the pirates raid the Mexican Indians and bring like citrus fruits and some other things that the Mexican Indians have, and then
We know why Mexican
Tranquility
Indians
trades with them.
are alive.
What, Leslie?
So we know why the Mexican Indians want their prisoners alive. They're probably Aztecs, ripping hearts out of people for their gods.
Do you say that? You have like a good half day's walk. Do you say this while you're
Yeah, I
walking?
did say that. Yeah.
Well, he'll say he sure doesn't know anything about that. Let's see. Oh, his wagon. Oh, the wagon is being pulled. Let's find what it's being pulled by. I'll show you something. Let me show you something.
It's being pulled by Fred Flintstone's lot.
He calls it Bob.
A giant naked mole rat.
Hard to find out. Rodent of unusual size.
Well, he calls the critter pulling his cart or his wagon. It's a wagon. He calls the critter pulling his wagon Bob, and he says, "Bob won't hurt you. Just stay away from his tail." And Bob, oh, here we go. This is a good picture.
Bob is a 1968 Chrysler Presidente.
Bob is probably a dinosaur.
Bob is a dinosaur.
With a spiny, or no, with a bulbing tail. A mace for a tail.
Yeah, he won't hurt you. Just stay away from his tail.
And
And his mouth, because sometimes he doesn't know the difference between hay and not hay. It can take him a minute to figure it out.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He ate one of my boots once. So that's Bob, the ankylosaur. What else is going on?
for a tail.
And that's generally the gist of it as you walk along the road toward Tranquility. Oh, other things. You do get close to Tranquility, and where did I put the Oh, and I actually showed you what it looked like. So this is the
Yeah, it looks like F Troop.
this is how to put that. This is the what the town looks like when you get close to it. It looks like a cavalry fort from an old western. Basically, that's what it looks like.
It looks like a
I wouldn't know, but I'll take your word for it. And then there's this, which is a bit newer, and this is all around Tranquility. And these are made of sharpened palm trees, basically.
wow.
And that's
Cool.
basically all around the whole town. And you see around the town there are fields that are growing various crops. For the most part, it's some kind of grain, maybe wheat, maybe sorghum. You don't know. You do see some corn growing, and these spike things are like around the fields as well. So
They probably have a fairly large number of herbivores wandering through.
yeah. Let's see what else is going on. The town of Tranquility is actually, as you're going down the coast, the road that you are on is like paved with blocks of stone that looks like a million years old. Like there's sections of it where there's like huge areas where the blocks are gone, and then you'll walk a little bit more, and then there'll be blocks again, or a big tree will be in the middle of the road that has just pushed aside the blocks and grown up, things like that. So this road has been here for a very long time. But as you're going along, go ahead.
Does everything here vegetation-wise look like it was either of the past of Earth or present of Earth? Gesundheit.
Huge ferns,
That would be
huge
past.
palm tree-looking things. Yeah, they're all very fairly primitive plants.
Or of Earth, basically, or something similar to Earth.
Close enough. Or
Yeah,
giant
okay.
versions of it. Yeah. The road gets closer to the coast, and the town of Tranquility appears to be like right on the coast. There is a dock in the water that looks very rough-hewn. It's built very much like the cavalry fort-looking stuff. It doesn't look finished and polished at all. It looks fairly recent, and the town has a wall around it. What else? Oh, and as you get closer, all of a sudden, the road you are on turns into train tracks.
Okay.
And Sam takes Bob and leads him off of the train tracks, and next to the train tracks, where there's more of like a path up to the town. And the train tracks are like a half mile or so before you get to the town.
Sam mentioned something about tense political situation in this town.
Oh, well, that's not how he described it exactly, but he said when you get here, if you've got guns, hide them. And try to stay out of trouble and don't get the attention of Edgelord.
And who's Edgelord?
Edgelord, he showed up about 6 months ago, and he's from back east. Sam's pretty sure he has that kind of feel about him, you know. And he's not a gentleman at all. Unfortunately, he can do things that Sam has never seen anyone else be able to do. So it's best just to stay out of his way. If he tells you to do something, well, it's on you to decide whether to do it or not. But he's got his, what's it like an Old West term for gang? Posse?
Gang.
Gang. Actually, it's gang, like the James gang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
posse is what you have to do.
Yeah. Okay. So he has his gang. A couple showed up before he did, and some are townsfolk who were never any good. And he seems to have gathered them around him like flies on, well, you know. So stay out of their way, and hope he doesn't notice you.
So Francisco actually raises his hand and says, "Excuse me, sir. How are there train tracks here if there's no metal on this?"
Oh, those came with the town.
The whole town came.
About
Okay.
10 years back.
Okay.
Of course, it's hard to tell exactly because we don't really have years.
How
we got-
far-
We got days, and we got months. But time is kind of strange here. And even the days aren't completely reliable.
How far the tracks go?
Well, he points to where they start. And then he points at town. And he says, and they go about that far to the other side of town.
Start, like right there. So we actually see right where they start.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm surprised nobody's torn them up for the scrap metal.
Exactly.
Well, they don't really have. Well, we can get into that later. So.
You need smelting, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Kieran.
Yes.
Okay. So you guys have been walking for like half a day. And as you're walking along next to the wagon, or in front of or behind, wherever you want to be, doesn't matter. Oh, and I'll tell you guys some more about what's in the wagon. And then Donald can read his little essay. But while you're walking along, you're thinking back to like you're being dragged underwater and you're fighting for your life and your life's flashing before your eyes. And parts of your life are not the life you remember. I mean, you remember the life you remember. But it's like, since you got out of the water and you like recovered yourself, you're remembering a life that was not the life you remember living the first time. You remember being like some warrior person who could fire an arrow and take down a mule deer with it and run super fast and, you know, wrestle huge. What were some of like the savage tribes around Greece? Macedonians. You remember like wrestling this huge Macedonian and throwing him to the ground and kicking him in the side and then, like really like hardcore stuff. So yeah, there's that. So do with that what you will.
Interesting.
In the back of the wagon, which at some point you guys will look over into it, in addition to the junk he picked up next to the water, there was apparently already some junk in there that he picked up from elsewhere before he ran into you. Also, bags of vegetable matter. You're not sure what it is. Might be spinach, might be tea leaves. Unless you're really into that, you don't know the difference, right? I mean, if I was just looking at it, I wouldn't know tea leaves from spinach or tobacco for that matter. So, but if you do, you do. If you do, it's actually tea. He's got a couple of bags of like
really big.
raw tea leaves in the back, and also a bunch of like bundles tied with twine of various herbs or weeds. Hard to tell which is which, but most of them have flowers on them, and those are tied with little twine in bundles about the size of a bouquet of flowers. And there's a stack of those in the back, and then there's just other random vegetable things. Like some have roots, like they've been dug up and put in the back of the wagon, and others have been chopped off as something, like a big football-shaped fruit thing that's like chopped off of a tree, and there's like a dozen of those in the back of the wagon. Excuse me. So that's just in the back of the wagon as you're walking toward Tranquility. Okay, you're at this point a half mile from Tranquility. Hey, Donald, did you want to read something?
Yeah. All through this, Captain John is uncharacteristically withdrawn. Tries to avoid eye contact, mutters to himself. He's poking around in that junk in the back of the wagon, just muttering to himself. And if anybody really listens to the muttering, it sounds like a cross between calculus and music, rather than an actual language. But, you know, he's just avoids conversation, is avoiding people while he's doing this. Apparently, this has really messed with his mind.
Do you want to tinker with anything in the back of the wagon on the way there? You have several hours.
Yeah, poking around with all the junk, just playing with the junk.
Play with the junk.
Because the junk is really, really fascinating.
You have engineering, right? I hope so.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm going to roll some dice. And then make an engineering roll. Reason plus power. No, wait, do you have super reason as a power?
No, I don't.
Okay, then just
I do have speak with objects if it comes.
That's fine. That is not what I meant to roll. Let me try something else. Yeah, roll 2d6 and add your reason.
A 10.
You needed exactly a 10, so that's pretty cool. So let me do this as you're tinkering, and I'll tell you what you get when you tinker. That's weird. Yeah, that's fine. We'll do that. 79. What does 79 give us? Okay. You're just muttering to yourself and idly tinkering, and you take like looks like a broken reel-to-reel recorder from the 60s and pull a couple of pieces out of that and a couple of tubes, and then there's like a universal remote from the circa 1990, and you crack that open and you like splice a couple of wires in, do something else, and then there's like what looks like a really fancy pager. I mean, it's like this big, but it's a pager, and you like pop the back off of that and pull the wires out and stab some other things in there, and you have created a.
Here's a matching video.
I have no idea what that was. Was
Drop
that
boxing again. You're blurry.
what?
You're blurry. She's drop boxing again.
No, I don't.
Move your microphone back down, Leslie.
Yeah, can't really hear you, Leslie.
You're blurry again. She's
Well, I'm
obviously
terribly
drop
sorry. I look perfectly clear to me.
Yeah. Oh, now you look clear.
So I'll ask Captain John what he's up to.
When you're done, you realize what you've created is a detector that detects candy wrappers. It's like you weren't even thinking about what you were doing. You were just like working on it while you're running things over in your head, kind of like knitting. Like Kieran will knit sometimes while we're playing. And it's not like you're really focusing on it. It's just like keeping your hands busy. And he says, "So Captain John, what are you doing?" And you go, "Well, I don't know, what am I doing?" And you look down and you realize, oh, you've created a candy wrapper detector. So there you go.
Find some candy wrappers?
Really? Well, if there's candy in it, I guess that's a good thing.
Candy's optional.
I punched the button to see if it worked.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's some candy wrappers in one of the bags. Probably still have chocolate in them if we're lucky.
What, the stuff you brought in? Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it picks up several energy bar wrappers that are currently wrapped around energy bars that are in the not munitions, provisions that you brought from the mobile broadcasting unit. So, ta-da!
Might be able to use this to find food scavenging.
Provided you don't mind chocolate, yeah.
Right then. Anything else you wanted to read aloud to everybody, Donald?
No, that was all of my thing.
Okay.
And just every once in a while he's fiddling with stuff, it's the whole can't think. Oh, the things I can think if I can only think. Kind of muttering.
Okay. Well, as
he's not entirely stable right now.
Sam tucks his shotgun in underneath some of the vegetable matter in the back of his wagon, and as you guys get close to Tranquility, there are people perched or behind the wall. They're like little heads poking up, and they see you guys coming, and they get down, and the big doors in the wall open up, and it's pretty low tech. They're just big, simple wooden hinges. I'm not even sure how you'd build that, but I'm sure there's a way. So whatever it is, it's very mechanically simple. and takes a lot of work to open. So there's like two guys pushing on the door to open it, and it's like scraping the ground. And he comes to hell on ahead. He like jogs ahead a little bit, and he helps them pull the doors open, and then he leads Bob and you guys in, and they just say two younger guys, and they look at you and they're like, "Wow, new people, and you look normal." Well, and they look at how you're dressed and they go, "Well, almost, but damn, close enough." Hey, welcome to Tranquility. Takes off the hat, because they are. It is like by this time it's. Let's see, you got there and it was late morning. By this time it's mid-afternoon, late afternoon, probably closer to evening. But it's done. The sun's still, up for another couple of hours. It's like 90 degrees. You're sweating your ass off, and these guys are fully dressed: hat, long sleeve shirt, pants, boots, bandanas, and they don't have laundry here, but they have water. So they rinse their clothes, but I mean, they clearly have been wearing the same clothes for years. So they are as clean as they can get them, but they're not new looking. So, but they're nice to you when you come in, and they say welcome, etc., etc. And then as the wagon comes in, they close the door and then get a wooden bar, and they two of them heave it up and clunk, drop it over like little things that it drops behind, like barring a door.
Shake hands,
Right.
make introductions.
Oh, they shake their hands, and their names are not important. But they'll introduce themselves and say it's nice to meet you. And they tip their hats to the ladies. Lady, there's only one lady. Tip their hats to the lady, and then they climb back up on a. It's not actually attached to the wall. It's just a platform, like a lifeguard stand, and they just kind of climb up it and stand on it. One guy over here, one guy over there, and do their watching thing.
All right.
Anyway, the town of Tranquility. Did I have a map for this? I don't think I did. Let me see. Nope. That's not it. It's dusty, and you do see a couple of horses.
Late 1800s. Late 1800s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it looks like a western town. So just picture any western town from any movie anywhere, and then that's what you got.
Okay. You said the population was originally around, what, 900?
He told you there is close to 1,000 when they got here, and it's at the last time they did a count, it was just over 300. Because they lost a lot of people that first couple of months. So,
No doubt.
But there you go. Let's see if I can find something fun. That's not what I wanted. Anyway, he leads Bob toward that's not what I wanted. Toward what is provisions. Barthen's Provisions is what it says on a sign. And he goes inside. There you go. And oh, hey, here's a map. This will work. If I can. Oh, come on, man. Nothing ever goes the way I want it. Why can't you just do what I want?
So
All right, anyway. So he starts carrying stuff in.
We're not immediately out of anything like food or water or anything like that, right? We're good for a
Not
couple of
immediately.
days.
You probably have enough stuff you took out of the van to keep you alive for a couple of days. And when you were in the water, you all got in the water, and anybody knocked. Anyway, it was fresh water, so it's drinkable. Well, in theory, it's drinkable. So, yeah.
Okay, but we don't have any immediate needs, so I guess finding a place to stay for a couple of days probably wouldn't be all that difficult in a town that's only got a third of its current population.
That seems reasonable.
Follow Sam into the provisions shop.
Yeah, well, there's a guy in there. It looks like a general store, but it's more angled toward farm equipment and that sort of thing. It's less dresses and candy and more plows and feed. So it's like more like a feed and grain type of store than a go to buy a dress store.
Okay.
But anyway, so there's a guy in there and with a bowler hat, and he talks to Sam, and he sees you guys, and he's like, "Oh, new folks." He like wipes his hands. He's like, "So, welcome, welcome. We haven't had new folks for, well, probably about 6 months." And he shares a look with Sam, and Sam says, "Yeah, I don't think these people are that kind of people. I think they're okay." He's like, "Well, if Sam says you're okay, then I think you're okay." And
Okay. Again, make introductions.
make introductions. Does everybody else go into the provisions place along with John, or what?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
We need to start, set it, we have to pull together our stuff and figure out where we're going to stay and all that. So, yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was following the pile of junk until it stopped, and then I looked up and saw John heading into the provision shop and followed him.
Anyway, the gist of what I wanted to talk to Sam and the shop owner about is to find out if there's someplace that we could be allowed to stay. Or if not, if they don't know, then who would we talk to find out someplace to stay?
Yeah.
Well, there's.
Okay. I just want to let you know Linda said hi.
Hello.
Okay.
Hey, Linda.
That's why I left, because she came in and I always say hi to her.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Well, until I tell you otherwise, it looks like the picture I showed you.
That's the town? That's the town?
Close enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Deadwood.
I thought we were Deadwood.
No, we were almost dead meat.
Yeah, we
Says-
almost could be. Yeah.
Well, there's 2 places you could stay. Probably you want to stay at the Red Dog Inn. Is that what it's called? I called it something. I gotta look at my notes. Hang on. Red Dog. Red Dog Saloon. Well, the Red Dog Saloon has some rooms, but you probably don't want to stay there. How about
Being an empty building, maybe?
well, there are a couple. Out by the Green Man. What do you think, Sam? Out by the Green Man? And he's like, "Yeah, I know how to do." He's like, "Yeah, the McGillicuddy place out by the Green Man. You folks could probably stay there. They might have, you might have to sleep on the floor, a couple of you, but it's at least to keep you out of the weather."
So who are we talking to now, since I wasn't here when we met him?
The shopkeeper who's wearing a bowler hat, and I don't have a name for him because he's not important.
Okay.
Just the shopkeeper. Barthen. Actually, it's Barthen's Provisions, so Barthen. If you're talking to Barthen. Sam says if you folks can wait a minute, let me settle up with Barthen here. I'll show you the way
Okay.
to
You need help unloading
the
stuff?
McGillicuddy place.
Do you need help unloading your wagon?
If you want to, sure.
Okay.
So-
Yeah.
You guys just carry the stuff in. Barthen looks it over, makes notes. And, you don't carry it all in. Like you go to pick up the bundles of weeds, and he says, "No, that's not for here." So, but the other stuff you carry in, and the piles of junk you carry in, and that all gets stacked up somewhere. And Donald,
Well, what pieces of junk I haven't slipped into my pockets.
right. When you get in here, you see that there is like a corner of Barthen's that has been like cleared out. The place is like half empty anyway.
Okay.
It's been a long time, but a corner of it has been cleared out, and there's like stacks of just various used junk that's been kind of loosely categorized by type. Things that they don't have any idea what they do, like the broken reel-to-reel, that's over here. things that have some kind of use, but they are broken, like a broken mop. Like the mop is perfectly functional, but the handle's broken. Like stuff like that. Like useful household things that are broken, or in a pile. And there's like pile of clothes from various eras. There's just like a pile of those. So it's kind of like a really low tech Salvation Army kind of a sorting area. Anyway, you carry your stuff in, and then Sam says he has one more stop, and then he can show you to the McGillicuddy place. So he leads Bob down the road to what is clearly the Red Dog Saloon because it has a
Big red
sign
dog
hanging
on
in front of it
the
of a
sign,
red dog. What? What?
I said it has a sign that it has a. You were saying, yeah.
Yeah, it
Usually
has a,
the ends of those times usually did have pictures, whatever they were. I'm also watching too much British detective fiction because their ends all have signs about what they are.
Yeah, well, at least it wasn't Clifford asleep on the porch.
Yeah.
I thought about that.
Having a big red dog asleep on the porch.
Oh, come on.
No sign, just a big red dog asleep on the porch.
Okay.
There's actually 4 dogs. They take shifts. The other 3 do the dishes.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah, I know how dogs do dishes.
Yep.
Okay, that's not working for me. Hang on. Oh, no wonder. I'm looking at pictures on websites. All right. So he goes around to the back of it, like into an alley, and he just walks in the back and carries a bundle of weeds. And if anybody wants to carry some more bundles of weeds, they certainly can.
Sure. Nothing better to do.
And you basically go through the kitchen into a saloon. And the saloon looks like this. Where's the saloon? There's a saloon. Saloon. But you came in through the back. There you go. Looks like that.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And behind the bar, I may as well show you this too, is a woman who does not look like a cowboy. She looks like this. And she has a name because she's important. Okay.
Okay.
And as Sam walks out from the back, she's like, "Sam, how you doing?" She's got a sick New York accent that I cannot really keep up for very long because I'll be annoying to myself. But you seen The Nanny, Fran Drescher?
Yeah.
Like a high-pitched, thick New York accent.
Yeah, the Flushing accent.
Yeah. So that's what she sounds like.
One of the
Or Cyndi Lauper.
One of the reasons that I consider Flushing, New York to not be that bad of an idea.
Actually, Cyndi Lauper is a closer match because she's not as annoying as Fran Drescher.
And we flushed Jersey with it.
So it takes. She focuses entirely on the bundles of weeds, and she's looking it over, and she's like, smells it, and she like pinches some off and like crushes it in her fingers and smells it and tastes it. She's like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Thanks, Sam. Hey, who are your friends?" Sound like a cartoon character. What's up, Doc? So, long story short, her name is Tandy Schatzman. She's like, "Welcome to the Red Dog Saloon, the finest establishment this side of the Cretaceous era. Belly up to the bar.
I take it you're not a native of this town.
What, this town? No, no. Originally from Queens, then I moved to Manhattan, and then one day I was taking a walk, and a freakish rainstorm with bright neon rain, and then walking down the road next to a brontosaur. So and then I was here, and here I am.
Sounds familiar.
What date did you come from?
What, when I left? Oh, it was after the war. So, like 1923.
Oh, you
After the First World War, okay.
you missed the Second War.
Second
and the
war.
third, and
There
the
was another
fourth,
one.
and the fifth, and
Well,
the
I'm talking about the World Wars. Like she's talking about the First World War.
The war to end all wars. The war.
Well,
Which we won, by the way. Hey,
yeah.
so you guys are from the present? Because all these guys are from the past.
we're from your future.
Well, like future?
Well, I'm telling you, there was a Second World War. We're from your future.
Well, who won that one?
We did.
Damn straight. Anyway, so, yeah. First drink's on me. What do you want? We got rye whiskey. We got a pretty good beer. We got, we don't got a vodka because the potatoes, they don't really ferment right. But, we do have, oh, tequila. Got a good tequila. It's not really tequila because, you know, who the hell knows what this thing's made out of? But it's kind of like tequila. It tastes kind of like tequila. And I'm working on the gin. Hey, you want to try the gin? I'm working on it. Not quite right yet, but it's drinkable. It'll get you messed up.
Beer.
please.
Beer it
Do
is.
do you have any hard cider?
No, sorry. No cider. She
Tell me you have.
And I can have a beer.
She gets a couple glasses and wipes them out and pours a couple of room temperature beers. And by room temperature, I mean like 80 degrees. Because there's no
Michael?
refrigeration and it's hot as hell.
Michael's an Irishman. I'm sure he's drunk worse.
Yeah. The beer is not terrible. It seems to be made out of fermented rye.
Oh, not bad.
Like not really hops exactly. But it's not bad. It's just odd tasting.
Not bad. I guess
Yeah.
if you don't have the right ingredients, this does pretty good.
Hey, I do the best I can.
Please tell me you've got rum.
No rum. Sorry. We don't have anything with enough sugar in it. Same reason why we don't have any cider. Nothing with enough sugar.
Like I said, doesn't sound like they got any apples here.
No. Closest we got is those weird kind of lemon potato things that the Mexican Indians get, that the pirates get from them.
Well,
Yeah.
you can make tequila out of that. I think that's
Oh
what
no,
they
we
do.
got the stuff. We got this other stuff we make the tequila out of.
Yeah, I was going to say, you make tequila out of agave. It's like
Yeah,
a big
agave,
root.
yeah.
Anyway, so she gets all your names and figures out who you are, etc., etc. So have you hooked him up with the place to stay at, Sam? He's like, we're going to stay at the McGillicuddy place for now. She's like, oh, that's a nice place. That's nice. I thought about living there when I got here. And I picked a different place. It's, it's closer. I don't have to walk as far to work. I'm kidding. I live upstairs.
Yeah, location.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just thought of something. I do need 2 different places. Because this is the Red Dog Saloon. But what we need is... Okay. So, okay. You could stay here, but there probably aren't enough rooms for you. Which is why he said you should stay at the McGillicuddy place.
Mhm.
The place he told you to steer clear of, if I can get there. I'm clicking, come on. is the Bittersweet Hideout. That sounds pretty provocative.
I'm assuming that's where the guy we don't want to meet hangs out.
That's where that guy hangs out. Yeah.
Sounds like the brothel where he hangs out.
Actually, just keep that the Bittersweet. So it's just the Bittersweet because that has a kind of brothely sort of name. Sound.
Yeah, it still sounds like a brothel.
Anyway, you guys are welcome to stay here all you want, and actually, she said the first drink's free, but when your glass gets empty, she'll ask if you want to refill, and if you say yes, she'll just refill it. She doesn't ask you for any money. They don't actually have a lot of use for it, so anyway. So how long do you hang out at the Red Dog?
Basically, I'm looking at Sam to see what he wants to do.
He finishes carrying in bundles of weeds that he stacks up over on some shelves for Tandy. And let's see. Oh, things that you might find interesting. On the way from the back to the front, you pass. It's not a room. It's sort of like a fenced off area up against the back of the building, which has stills. There are 4 of them, and there's fires under 3 of them, and there is a smell of fermenting mash, which probably smells like burning grass if you don't really know what you're smelling. But anybody who does know what they're smelling knows that they're stills. She's making stuff.
Ask her if they have a soap maker in town.
I'm just gonna say no. Soap?
Okay.
No, sorry, no soap. No.
Which
is why we're all kind of rank. Yeah.
Save me your ash, and I will need a pot
I'm sorry, what? A pot for what?
to make soap with.
You can make soap? Oh, you're gonna be all kinds of popular. Well, among certain types. Other types, not so much. Sure, yeah, I got a pot. Hang on, I go in the back. She goes in the back.
All of those other types would be more.
Kind of liking the idea of having someone who
I
can make
cannot hear what everybody is saying. Sorry.
You know, some of those other types that won't be happy will be more popular with the other types that will be happy if they use the soap, which might make them happy.
Just because I'm offering to make soap doesn't mean I'm going to make everybody use it who has a thing against bathing. Just don't want to be around them.
Seems pretty easy. You just need perfume, tallow, and ash, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. If you boil the ash, you make your lye.
She brings you a pot. It's a cast iron pot, and it's as much as she can carry because it's a big ass pot, and it's made of cast iron, and it's very very heavy.
You can make toothpaste too.
Huh?
I don't suppose you can make toothpaste too.
I'll have to.
I don't fancy losing my teeth.
Oh, you don't gotta worry about that. We got a fine dentist.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I've got a
Yeah. Well,
tube in
barber,
my,
dentist, whatever.
There's a tube of it in my pack to get us started until I remember how what I'm thinking that particular skill.
Toothpaste, you need baking soda.
Yeah. Although you can, if you're very very careful, use soap. A very small amount of it, and don't get it on your tongue.
Yeah, it is disgusting, but yeah.
But it works.
You got me remembering Civil War reenacting stuff at this point.
I probably have some inkling on how to do it, but
Yeah, how about chewing on some sassafras root?
If they have sassafras.
Fibers, scrub it out, or licorice root, or licorice.
We'll have to see if we can find a similar route. Yeah.
Well, if you're actually curious, she'll say that they do have some chewing roots that they use, that the locals showed her how to use to kind of keep the gunk off of your teeth. So, it's not as good as a peppermint poultice, but you got what you got, right? So, and that's what we got. They're basically extremely fibrous plant roots that they chew on.
Yeah.
And they don't taste particularly good. They actually have a Well, I mean, it's like chewing on grass, basically. So. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. So, Sam finishes what he's doing and says, if you folks are about ready, I'll show you where the McGillicuddy place is.
Finish the beer and follow him.
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, Tandy, I've tied Bob out back. He should have hay enough for a day or so, if I'm not back before then. She's like, all right, Sam. Hey, nice seeing you folks. Back anytime.
Yep.
Hey, I don't suppose any of you guys, you play an instrument? Guitar? Piano? Anything like that? We got a piano. Nobody plays it, though. He died, apparently. No?
Sorry, Fred.
All
Sorry.
right. Well,
Well,
maybe next time. Later. So Sam leads you down the town. He kind of skirts a portion of the town, like he's clearly making a kind of a loop around a portion of the town, which is, he's not pointing it out to you that he's doing that, but he's also not hiding it. It's very clear that he's doing it. And you get to
I'll ask him about it.
cutting.
Should we avoid that part of town?
Well, the Bittersweet's where Edgelord and his gang hang out. So, until you get the lay of the land, that'd be better if you to avoid them.
Makes sense.
don't mind not doing that.
And he takes you to an old west-looking house in the town, much like dozens of other ones that are around, and opens the door and walks in, and it's dusty. Like, it has years of dust. And I don't mean dust like house dust like we get, which is like that fuzzy gray dust. It's basically sand that the wind has blown in. Like very, very, very fine sand that the wind has blown in through the windows, which don't have glass, over the course of the last 8 years. So it's
That's easily
a
solved.
cleaner-upper.
Yeah, cleaner upper and maybe fixer upper to some small degree.
And he'll say, you folks are welcome to stay here for as long as you want.
Perfect.
Now, this is like in town. Is there like a shed or a barn out back or something?
Yeah, it's a shed.
I'm gonna go check that out.
It's got what would a shed in a city have? Broom, cleaning supplies, bottle of lye, whatever Old West people would have in their pantry. So,
Okay.
some wiping paper.
How big is this place? How many rooms?
It's got one downstairs room, a kitchen downstairs with a big, heavy oven thing in it. Actually fairly fancy for the time. And then there's a very tiny, narrow staircase going upstairs to 2 rooms upstairs, each of which has a bed in it. And the beds are made for people who are like 5 feet tall. Because I find that funny.
Okay, well, I've got sleeping gear myself, so I can take a spot on the floor downstairs.
All right. Yeah, we can fast forward a bit and you clean up the house.
Yeah.
Okay, between the 4 of you, you clean it up in no time. Meanwhile, Leslie. Let's see. Your guy, is he a Viking or is he a Jedi Knight type character from outer space?
I'm
Or is he a
saying
Viking from outer space? That's fine too.
Yeah, I'm saying Jedi Knight loosely, but I'm saying because it's a mentalist thing. But yeah, I'm going to say more of a Viking type mentalist.
Okay.
Somebody,
So in the space Viking,
So Space Loki.
yeah, space Loki. Yeah, I
in
like that.
the space Viking universe he's from, is he? So he wouldn't be like a frontline warrior. Would he be more like a sage kind of a character, or monk kind of a character?
Probably a monk-like character.
Like, what's his role in the universe he's from?
I'm guessing if I go Viking, the Vikings had, I guess, the equivalent of a druid, which they called skalds, which I guess were, because druids were both the bards and the wise men, and I think the skalds were the same thing. That
Yeah,
would,
the Lore Keepers.
yeah, that's what he'd be, a skald type person.
Sure.
except he doesn't have music.
Like a Viking rabbi, except not quite so religious.
But he can defend himself. That's why he has a staff. He would have had a
Naturally.
staff.
Oh no, very, very, very religious, just in a totally different way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the law is the religion, and the religion is the law,
Yeah.
because the law are the lessons that the gods have handed down to us.
Yeah.
Fine,
And
works for me.
Yeah.
So as you guys are sweeping this place out and cleaning it up, it is reminding you of that time you were on the third planet of the star of the wicker basket, and you ran across some old ruins that were there from the precursor civilization, and you had to take refuge because there was a huge storm coming through. And as you're reminiscing about this, you realize, whoa, that's not my life.
Unless I'm watching too much science fiction. What do you
I
think
mean,
of-
it seems, and it's like you think you go over it in your memory, and it's like that seems like you, and you remember it. You remember getting there. You remember the guys you traveled with. That one guy who snored all the time. And it's like little minor details you remember very clearly, but that's not you. But it is you.
Actually, he's going to say something. He's going to say, fellows and my lady, has anybody else been having a light flash before them that isn't theirs?
Oh, thank God.
As a matter of fact.
I think that's funny.
Who's any life in particular, or just one random life?
Let's just say that I'm remembering things I don't think I should be remembering unless I watch too much Star Wars.
Well,
Or Vikings. I don't remember. That show was pretty good, too.
Vikings?
Vikings.
I thought I was going crazy with this
If
stuff.
you put Vikings with Star Wars, you get the idea.
How much did you have to drink in that bar?
Oh, had the one beer.
well,
Considering
considering I think I started having my memories before the drink, I'm pretty sure it wasn't the drink.
Were you a Viking too?
No, I'm guessing Grecian warrior.
You're a fan of Wonder Woman.
And Captain, you're having memories of who?
An inventor, a scientist, one
Okay,
of the world's greatest.
you
Sorry,
assign.
say that again.
I say, an inventor, a scientist, one of Queen Albia's finest.
Albia.
How about you, Francisco? You starting to pick up memories that aren't yours?
You're talking to me? You're talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking to you.
You started picking up memories that aren't yours?
Crazy. My mouth's kind of hanging open. Like, what are you guys talking about?
I'm drawing a blank on that one myself, man.
Okay.
Usually, mass psychosis usually has a shared root. Usually, are all. It's the fact that they're all different is really interesting.
Well, I'm assuming,
I am going crazy.
John, you haven't had any of these weird flashes?
Nope.
I wonder if it's this place.
There's a knock at the door.
Go get the door.
And this lady is at the door, and she has a... Is that a double barrel shot? Hey, Lloyd, tell me what she's wearing. Tell me what weapon she's carrying here, because
Okay.
I'm not sure what this is.
That
a
is
shotgun?
a side-by-side shotgun.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was... Yeah, I didn't think they made rifles like that, even back then. So, this lady is at the front door.
They did, but that's not the point. That is a shotgun.
Okay, that's fine. It's a shotgun. So, she has a shotgun, and whereas Sam's was a 12 gauge, this is a 10 gauge. So,
Okay. Is
Otherwise-
it
Considerably larger bore.
10 smaller.
No,
than
10 is
12.
huge.
10's
No,
huge.
no, it's the
The lower the number, the bigger the gauge.
Yeah, it's the number of balls the size of the barrel that you can make out of 1 pound of lead.
Oh, all right,
Gauges
fine.
Gauge is 2.5 pound balls.
Then what's the smaller shotgun size from 12?
Like 20 gauge?
20 gauge. Yes, I'm sorry.
20 gauge, 14 gauge. There's a bunch of them. They go all the way.
Lloyd,
Yes.
Circus Civil War, what would be a smaller, normal, easy to find than 12?
Like a fouling piece would be 20, 16, or 28 gauge.
We're going to call it a 20 gauge then. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a shotgun, but it's a smaller gauge than his. It's 20. Because if it was the same, then I'd have to get into this whole thing. He thought he only had 14, but if she's got the same, then it's like a continuity thing. So screw that. 20.
Okay. Is it pointed at me?
No, she's got it over her shoulder, just like that.
Okay.
And she tips her hat to you. She says,
good.
"Evening.
Good evening.
I'm Sheriff Hood.
Oh, Sheriff, come on in.
Thank you."
I'm John Erline. Let me introduce you.
She wipes her boots on the dusty porch before walking into the slightly less dusty interior. So,
What's her
Right.
name?
because she's polite.
What's her name again?
She introduced herself as Sheriff Hood.
Okay. I take it she's important because she's got a name too.
Well, she's a sheriff, so yeah. So you introduce her around. She introduced herself, and she says, "I'm Sheriff Hood. You folks can call me Rose. If you plan to stay out of trouble, you can call me Rose. If you're the sort that want to get into trouble, then you can call me Sheriff Hood. Hoping you can call me Rose.
I have no plans of getting into trouble.
Well, I hope not to.
Not either.
Yeah, Sam said you folks. Is this all of you? He said there
Yes.
was quite a bunch. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've seen this many show up at one time in a long, long time. So, yeah.
We were traveling together.
Were you? Okay.
were in
And
the
looks, he says you're from the future? Maybe even further in the future than Tandy.
2019.
She just gives you a blank look like she doesn't know what those numbers mean. I'm sorry, what?
The 21st century. 2019.
The year 2019.
Show her my driver's license.
At first, she's just amazed at the physical object. She like puts down her rifle, and she's like, "What? What is this? What is this made of?" And then she's like, "Oh, it's a tiny picture." And she like holds it up next to you. Oh, 2019. Wow, from the future. Wow. Right. Well, pleasure to meet you. We
And you?
were from 1876, and we estimate. Actually, Sam's got this all written down somewhere, but we estimate that it's 1886 now, give or take. But who knows, really? Well, I figured you folks. Do you mind if I sit?
Sure.
She pulls up a chair and brushes the dust off of it and sits down. She says, "Well, what I normally do when somebody new shows up is I give them the layout, the rundown of what we expect from them and what they can expect from us. And if that doesn't work for them, then no hard feelings. They can go. But if they stay, they gotta stick by with what we all think's right. So it's for you. So, well, I guess it works the same.
Nice.
So, if you're from the future, I assume they got the same rules there as everywhere else.
Much.
Don't hurt nobody, ain't hurt you. If you think somebody needs killing, you let me know.
I used to do your job.
Oh, is that right? You were sheriff.
I
Where
was
you're
a
from?
police officer in San Francisco. Yes.
San Francisco. Never been there. Heard of it. So there's still a San Francisco in the future. That's interesting.
Yes.
Well, I guess there would be. It's a big town. I don't imagine it would disappear like ours did.
Oh, it's even better now.
So, I'm getting ahead of myself. I gotta ask though. In your future, what happened to us? Did that happen a lot? Are there a lot of towns just went up and missing? Do you ever wonder where they went?
No, never heard of it before.
Really?
We just disappeared in a vehicle.
Unless we find the Roanoke colony.
That
Then,
was before these guys.
time.
Yes.
Okay.
Time.
All right. Well, anyway, just
Unless we find the Roanoke colony, in which case, yes. But the people who believe it are considered crackpots.
I'll take your word for that, sir. But so here's the thing: don't take nothing don't belong to you, and don't hurt nobody ain't hurt you. And if you think somebody needs hurting real bad, you come talk to me. And if I agree, we'll do something about it. And if I don't agree, you're just gonna have to let it go. All right? We don't have enough people to afford any blood feuds or things of that nature. Okay? Now, as far as taking things that don't belong to you, there's a lot of things here that don't belong to nobody, but you might have to ask first to see what's what. All right? Like this house, ain't nobody lived here in years. McGillicuddy's, they got up and ate by a big lizard. So they're not coming home. You're welcome to it. You want to make this your place? That's fine. Other places, ask first, and we'll let you know. All right?
All right.
Fantastic.
No,
The general store. What do we do about
thing.
paying debt?
Barthen's? You mean Barthen's or the actual general store?
Barthen. What do we do about
Because
paying
actual
debt?
general store got emptied out years ago. Only thing in there is like empty cans and some hose. So not a whole lot in there anybody
Oh,
wants.
there's hose in there. Fantastic.
Well,
What?
how do you pay for things around here, or you just ask for it?
Well, there's not really a whole lot to buy. Everybody pitches in. Oh, you need to pitch in. Even if it's something simple like sweeping
Soap maker.
the dust off the porches on Main Street, or keeping an eye on the walls.
We're making
Or-
soap.
I haven't seen soap in years, but good luck with that if you can do it.
You can do it.
Yeah, I can do it. I just
Well, you
need
can
fat and ash.
So, hold your own. Keep up your end. Pitch in, and
Yeah.
if you pitch in, then there's enough for all of us to live on. The train had a bunch of sheep on it, and we kept that going. Never thought this would be a town full of sheep herders, but that's where a lot of our food comes from. And we got wool. Any of you folks know how to spin or make cloth out of wool by any chance? Because we got like houses full of wool, but nobody knows what to do with it.
Would Michael know from his Civil War reenactment?
How to spin wool?
Yeah. Might, you never know.
Maybe.
You've probably seen it done, but you've never done it yourself.
It's not that hard to be perfectly honest, as someone who's done
I say,
it.
it's not that difficult.
Say Coast Guard sail and rope making.
Well, let's say Michael knows how to spin wool, although he hasn't physically done it in years, and not in this life. Like
Yeah.
his other life, when he was like an apprentice at whatever space Viking monastery that he was a part of,
Yeah.
very early years of that, he had to like do things like carry water and spin wool and tend the beets and that kind
Well,
of.
I'll tell her.
That sounds like something Atalanta would be familiar with as
Well,
well.
I'll tell her I've seen it done. I can probably try it and give it a go.
Oh, Atalanta, being like the whole female warrior thing, and Athena was a goddess of home crafts,
Mm-hmm.
among other things. So, as part of your training, you totally know how to weave fabric, you know.
Maybe between the two of us, we could do it.
Yeah, between the two of you, you could totally figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
We can give it a go.
Yeah.
let's see. Well, that's fantastic. We've also got some fields that they pretty much take care of themselves. A lot of the insects that we would worry about back home, we still worry about them, but in a different way because they're like this big. So they don't really want to eat our crops; they want to eat you. So
Oh.
there's that.
Do you
And they
have a-
fly, so keep an eye out when you're outside. A lot of them fly.
Hmm.
So, let's see.
Oh no.
What else?
Yeah.
All right. And Mayor Coburn, he'll be around. Well, it's getting late. He might have found something else to do by now. But you'll meet Mayor Coburn. He's a basically decent fella. What else?
two questions, Sheriff. Do you have a doctor?
Doc Su, yeah.
Okay.
He's a Chinaman, but he's all right.
So am I, and I'm a doctor too.
Oh, she's looking straight at you. She would know that. So instead, she would say, "He's a Chinaman too," is what she would say.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a
And
doctor.
your English is way better than his. He's from San Francisco. Oh, he's from San Francisco too. Maybe you know him.
Our time.
Oh, well, actually, you're from the future, so maybe you wouldn't. Never mind.
My ancestors immigrated to San Francisco in the 1850s, so.
He might be related. A long lost uncle or something. Yeah.
Our great uncle.
The second question I had was that Sam mentioned somebody called the Edgelord.
You don't want to mess with Edgelord.
I don't want to mess with him at all. Yeah.
No. He's out the Bittersweet. Him and his gang stay there most of the time. Sometimes they come into town and cause trouble just to show they can. Stay away from them. And what?
I plan to.
Indeed.
Yeah. Just stay within the Bittersweet. And if they're coming into town, they make a lot of noise. So you'll see them coming. Just keep a berth. Whatever you do, don't draw on them. And you should just stay away. It's best to stay away.
All right.
I think that's it. Oh, you folks are probably hungry, right? Sam met you on the road. He makes a trip to Wangguo like once every couple of weeks, or we don't really have weeks because who the hell knows. But about twice a month, Sam makes the trip to Wangguo, and that's like a full day trip. So if he picked you up on the way back, imagine you folks are hungry. If you come down to the Red Dog, Tandy's usually got a big pot of stew going by this time.
Well,
Okay. I wouldn't mind meeting other townsfolk too to find out who's here.
Well, I'm sure they'll get a kick out of meeting you. People from the future. You can tell them about horseless carriages and also you can tell us if some of the stuff that Tandy's been telling us is true or not, because some of that sounds pretty hard to believe.
Ours, yeah.
Well, we
That
always
is all true.
one of those horseless carriages, actually.
Say what?
We arrived in one of those horseless carriages, though it's not in very good shape right now. And
Yeah, we should try to get it out of the water at some point.
yes, I'd like
How
to.
many days in a month?
Well, according to Sam, it's almost always 28.
Here, yeah.
That makes it easy.
Lunar
Yeah.
calendar.
Did he? Oh, he's got a calendar. He drew it up, and it doesn't make much sense to me. And to be perfectly honest, nobody around here much cares. But we stopped really keeping track of time after the first year or two. But Sam, well, he's the editor of the newspaper. You know how newspapermen are. So, or maybe you don't. If in the future, do you have newspapers?
Sort of. Still.
All right. So, no, but he's got a big calendar on his wall, and he makes notes on it when things happen. But here's how this goes: time, because this is going to mess with your head, and I can't do nothing about that. But the sun comes up and it goes down. Usually, it comes up over there, and it goes down over there, give or take. Once in a while, like a long while, I'm talking like once every 3-4 months, it'll come up, get up part way, and then go back down again. So that's weird. Months. Oh, we don't really have seasons. Like it gets hot and it gets hotter and it gets a little bit less hot, but it's always hot. We do have months. There's like no moon, and then there's a little sliver of a moon, and after a while there's a little sliver of 2 moons, and then there's this little sliver of 3 moons, and then all 3 get full, and then as they start going away again, then there'll be a sliver of 3 moons, and then a sliver of 2 moons, and then a sliver of 1 moon, and then it's gone. So that's a month. What?
How many suns are there? Are there only one?
Just the one.
Hmm.
Why? In the future, there more than one?
No.
I'm just wondering if this world has more than one moon, that it might have more than one sun.
Well, it doesn't always have more than one. It's only got more than one about 2/3 of the time.
All right.
Yeah, that's weird too, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know. It's been a while, and you kind of get used to things. Okay, so things to watch out for. Told you about edgelord. You've seen the big lizards, right? They're like iguanas, or Gila monsters, but they're big. I mean, not just not just like cow big. I mean, big, like building big. Some of these guys. So, those don't usually get into town.
We've seen Sam's Bob.
Oh, Bob. Yeah. We have a
No,
few
it's not-
more like Bob that are reasonably peaceful, but some of them aren't so peaceful.
Hmm.
So watch out. And even Bob, be careful! Don't put your hand around his mouth because he's kind of stupid and he'll eat it. So let's see what else. Oh, bugs, big bugs, big bugs. Dragonflies this big, and she holds her arms out, like big. And beetles, some of them fly, some of them crawl. So just look around. Keep your eyes open. Oh, one last thing before I go. I'm going down to the Red Dog myself to get some dinner. So, Sam mentioned you folks might have firearms.
Yep.
Yeah. Edgelord doesn't want anybody to have those except for his gang,
Mm-hmm.
which is not what he says, but that's what he does. So, if you do run into him, he will tell you that he believes everyone should own them, but if he finds out that you own them, he will take them away from you. So, say no.
We've already been told about that.
Yes, but thank you for reminding us.
Yeah.
That's something else I can do that I'm only going to tell you and Sam. If you can find the right materials, I can make bullets.
It's all right. You blacksmith?
It's not blacksmithing so much, it's just knowing how to make a bullet.
Oh, well, that's good too. What we really need is a blacksmith, because Snorri died the first day we were here, and no one else knows how to use it. We got the whole blacksmith, got the big anvil and all the hammers and tongs, all that stuff. No one has a clue how to use any of it.
That's one of those things that falls under I've seen how it's done. I could.
But at least we have the equipment here.
Yes.
A workshop, a pile of stuff from the traders market.
Well, you folks are more than welcome to take a look at the blacksmith shop, and if you can figure out how to do anything useful, it's yours, because no one else has had any luck at that at all.
Okay.
The closest we got is old Bob managed to hammer a horseshoe into a knife, sort of, and
Well, if nothing else, the blacksmith shop has the right tools to make bullets. Just have to find the right material.
all right.
Let's take a look, see what we can find out, and then go get dinner.
Yeah.
Sounds
Okay.
like a plan.
Well, you know where the Red Dog is, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I'll see you folks there later, unless you take a really long time, in which case I'll see you around. Nice meeting you all. And she heads out.
Well, I'm assuming we're going to take the long time that Sam took to avoid the edgelord's territory.
I wouldn't be surprised if she did the same.
Yeah.
Is it dark yet?
So you've been Twilight. Just Twilight.
Catch up with the sheriff and see where the blacksmith is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, if you go straight out this way, that's Main Street. If you go straight out that way, you'll hit the train tracks. If you go toward the train tracks, follow them for a ways until the Main Street crosses it. The blacksmith is the building. Let's see. Okay, if the locomotive's on your right and you look across the street, the blacksmith is on your left.
Okay.
You have a luck about it.
Oh, yeah, we have a train. It doesn't go anywhere because the train tracks, I don't know if you folks noticed, the train tracks end like a half mile outside town. So the train's not going anywhere. But yeah, it's a train.
All right, let's go take a look.
If you like trains, go check it out.
Well, we can take a look at that before we go get food.
Yeah.
She heads to the Red Dog. Where are you going?
Leave behind and go take a look at the blacksmiths.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's up in Smithies.
If you follow the directions that she gave you, you follow the train tracks, it is a train. It's a look. Well, actually, what you get to first are train cars, and there are those big box cars like hobos would ride in with the big door in the middle that slides.
Right.
That either have livestock or big empty box with a slidey door. There's a bunch of those, and then there's a couple of flat cars that are full of coal, and then there's a locomotive that is parked there, and everything's like really, really rusty. Particularly the wheels are really, really rusty. Oh wait, that's actually really hot and it's humid. Okay, so they're rusty. Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of coal in a blacksmith shop.
Oh, yeah.
Raw materials.
Yeah. Oh, they got shit tons of coal. But see, they don't really have a use for it because A, it's hot all the time, so they don't need it for heat. They burn some to cook with, but they have literally flatbeds full of coal and 300 people who cook with it. And they've used maybe a third of a flatbed of coal in 10 years. So.
They're more likely to use wood for cooking.
Okay, I'll take your word for that.
Yeah.
Then they use wood for that then. So they haven't even used that much coal. Great.
Coal would be useful, I guess, with the blacksmith shop, though.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the blacksmith shop. It is abandoned. Everything's really, really dusty, but it's a blacksmith shop. It's got all the stuff you'd expect to find. It's got a forge, and it's got anvils, plural, of different shapes, because apparently different shape anvils are used for different things. So it's got like 4 different anvils in a big-ass forge, and then a bunch of tongs hanging from the ceiling, and a bunch of different size hammers and different shape hammers. So way more blacksmithy stuff than I even have an inkling of, and it's all there. Hasn't been touched for 8-10 years.
I'll walk up into the middle of it, look around slowly, and then go.
Yeah, that's
Just
disturbing.
find some of the materials for me if I find the materials to make bullets.
There is actually like a bench that has. They look like tongs, but at the end is like a ball.
Yeah.
But the ball actually opens, and inside is a hollow spot for a bullet.
Yes.
So there's actually on a bench, there's a row of different size little tongs with bullet shapes in them for a number of different things, including one for making shotgun pellets of different various sizes.
There'll be like little
Michael will go over and pick one of
punches
those.
about how big they need to have primers out with. And
They're like too many people talking. Hang on. My left to right. Craig, you haven't talked lately. Want to say anything?
No. Francisco is just kind of overwhelming overall. Kind of mouth agape at everything. Just kind of listening and checking out the area, but not really doing much of anything.
Oh, I will get back to you in just a moment, Craig. I've got something for you. What?
Okay.
What was this? What were you doing?
Perceptive. Basically, taking everything in, not necessarily doing much.
Okay, I have something for you in just a moment at the blacksmith shop. But we'll move on to Donald. Do you want to say anything?
No, the maniacal laughter, and he starts doing, playing with things, seeing what's all there, and
Okay.
taking
Kieran, were you saying something?
Nope.
And Leslie, were you saying something?
Walks over to the bench with the tongs that have balls and looks at them and say, "Now all I need is lead." And
Lloyd, you saying something? Something about primers?
1800s period or late 1800s period reloading bench with dies for casting bullets. You'd also have things that look like center punches because you need something to pop primers out with, and sizing dies, where you basically just use a hammer to tap the bullets in to resize them to the proper size. At that point, all brass cartridges are infinitely reusable, so you just need the empty cartridges. So you need basically primers, powder, and the empty shells that they came with, and a a small table full of tools.
Also, if the guy died the day they got here, it's not like this. If this was a fully functional smithy when he died, like literally a day after they got here, it should have at least a minimal some supply of materials for making bullets.
Yes.
Actually, I was going to say that because when Leslie walks over to that bench, there's like little bins that have like strips of tin. Like if you get like a sheet of tin and cut it into strips the size of strips of chewing gum, there's like a bin of those, and there's a bin of, I don't know what you make primers out of, honestly, but whatever they're made out of, there's a bin of the pieces that you make those out of.
They're brass. At this time, they'd be brass, and you just need the mercury fulminate that goes in them. The chemicals are the things you'd have to worry about. Black powder and fulminate are the only two that you'd need, though.
Well,
Mercury fulminate, how would that be stored?
Michael's a chemist, so he knows what
Keg.
he knows chemistry.
Keg.
Keg.
There's probably a couple of wooden kegs off to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, well away from the fire.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Diagonally opposite from where the forge is, because it's in like a corner-ish sort of area. As far away from it as it can be, there is like a pony keg thing about yay big that it is stenciled on it, whatever the... Did they call it mercury fulminate back then, or is it some other antique-y sort of sounding?
Actually, fulminate would probably be stored in glass bottles. The black powder would be stored in kegs.
Mercury
What did they call it?
symbol is HG, so if they had the symbols.
Okay, well that stuff's off in a corner on shelves as far away as it can be from the forge, which is cold. Anything else, Leslie?
I said if it does say mercury on it, or it might have the symbol HG, which is the symbol for mercury.
It'd be labeled.
Yeah. At this point, he'll look around and he says, the only thing we don't have is lead, or do they have some lead?
You don't see lead.
Okay. And that's all we have to get is lead.
You know what? I bet you we could make more gunpowder with dinosaur guano.
I bet you we could.
Gotta find piles of it and fork it up.
I can ask Bob.
So you guys are like roaming around and looking at stuff, and Leslie's looking at the tools and saying, yeah, I could make bullets. And Donald's like, Mwah! And he's like, yes, this will be perfect for my experiments. And
Exactly that.
What kind of flashback does Craig have?
there's like a barrel full of iron implements of various sorts, and Anna pulls out something that looks vaguely machete-like. It's a raw, not yet hammered or sharpened piece of steel that's intended to be used for, I don't know, some farming implement. But she's feeling the heft and thinking like, yeah, I could make a sword out of this. This would be all right. Sword? What? Anyway, so and think of that time she like chopped heads off of a chimera and that kind of thing. And so you're just kind of roaming around and getting laid place. Meanwhile, Cisco has been just kind of gradually more and more freaked out by you guys going insane, because you've clearly all gone insane.
Beg your pardon.
And
Perfectly sane, thank you.
but he's like looking at the forge, and he starts thinking like there's something really, really wrong with that forge. Because he can feel it. It used to be something great, and now it's just sad. It's a sad, sad thing. It's an echo of something that used to be...
Yeah.
But it can't quite put his finger on it. And then... Wait, I don't actually have your character sheet in front of me. Hang on. I gotta make sure you can actually do what I want you to do. Hang on. One moment, please. As I find... What did I file you under? Francisco? Oh, there you go. Here you go. Pardon me while I consult my notes. Well, it's kind of a stretch, but I'll give it to you. This is, I'm kind of like, there's a word for this. Taking over player agency. So if this offends you, Craig, we'll roll it back. All right? So this is not final until you say it's final.
Okay.
But so like the forge, it just seems so sad and cold and empty, and you're like, No, this ain't right. And you reach out with your hand and it
That's what it was.
bursts into flame. And
Of course,
like-
of course. What? What? Yes, fire.
I could totally use that.
Where did that come from?
so there's a whoosh behind you, and you turn around, and Francisco's like, yeah, that looks right. And the forge is going full blast.
Where the hell did that come from? I'm looking at Francisco. What you just do?
Normal thing. Make fire easy. No problem.
I've never seen fire made that way.
You can make fire.
That's
Make fire.
everything.
Yes.
I'm back a little bit away from Francisco.
Cisco, never knew you had it in.
Going around my head what they described.
Yeah, at around that moment, you're
Oh,
because
Hi.
you have this like, well, what do you mean that was strange? That was perfectly normal. And then you start thinking, wait, no, that was not perfectly normal. And then you have the same double memory thing going back in time that everybody else has been describing. You remember the city of brass? You remember being a bureaucrat?
I guess I'm going to work tomorrow. That's awesome. Hey guys, I don't have to apologize because you're right. You're not crazy because it happened to me too. Unless I'm crazy too. That's possible. Maybe, maybe not.
Oh,
We're not
goody. You're all good at.
fire out of nothing. That's a new one.
Yeah, I don't think making fire out of nothing is a psychosis.
No, it's pretty real. It's real fire.
It's actually the fire is dying down again because
That's
Because there's no
It's
fuel.
probably the-
There's no fuel.
yeah, there's no fuel. There's like
I-
the leftovers of the coals that were there, but when the guy died, the forge was going, and it basically burned itself out after he died.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you get it going like full blast, but it only stays that way for a few minutes and then it dies down again.
So couldn't I use damaging ore for something like that?
Say what?
Couldn't I use damaging ore for something like that? Wouldn't that
I'm assuming that's what you did, actually.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. It's kind of like a directional.
well, that might come in useful.
Yeah, now, how about we pull some coal out of that locomotive?
How
Well, no,
about
there's
you-
actually there's a bin.
You know, because
There's a big ass bin of
we don't
coal
wanna show
right
our
over there.
hand yet.
So
We don't want to show our hand yet to this bad guy. Let's not be.
No.
It is late at night, and it's late in the afternoon. Let's not be starting something that's going to take all day to work on anyway.
it's late twilight now.
We need to
It's
get
going to, and there are no street lights. It's going to be full on dark in another half hour.
we need to
Let's
get
food.
If this bad guy is as bad as she says, as bad as they all say, we're going to have to defend whatever we do here, so we need to be careful.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go get food.
Look around the blacksmith shop.
That's a good idea.
Yes,
Lantern
Lloyd?
anywhere?
One more time.
Look around the blacksmith shop. See if there's a lantern anywhere.
Oh, sure, it's a couple lanterns.
We're gonna need. Yeah, we'll fill them. Make sure we got light source and carry them with us.
Yeah, it's slosh. It's about half full of oil. And if you look around, you can find a bottle of oil somewhere. But it's like half full of oil. And you crank it up, and, well, you don't have anything to light it. Oh, there's like a few still burning embers in the coal, in the forge. So you get like a piece of straw and light it from that and light the lantern. Not a problem.
Disposable lighters.
Or
It's not a
that,
big deal.
yeah. If your character smokes. I forget. Okay, who here smokes?
Actually, I don't, but I carry a lighter in my bailout bag for lighting fires.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Survival kit.
I think
Occasionally, a pipe on a boat at sunset. It's a thing.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
he's correct. The real thing on real Navy ships, yes. It's called, yes. Sundowners, yes, it's correct. Real thing.
Anyone addicted to tobacco is going to have a bad couple of days.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
no,
other than that,
not like
sure, you have lighters in your...
Because they've got a wet package of cigarettes and nothing else.
Oh, besides that, Brandon, I figure at least half of us are carrying a bag of weed around anyway, so we're gonna need something like.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so... I'm not going to point any fingers. Hey, it's completely legal in where? Ohio now? Or it will be?
Colorado, where we were.
Are you kidding?
Colorado.
That's going to a dispensary down in Massachusetts.
Man,
Yeah,
I would.
have those
Yeah,
things.
My mom's getting hers from the government store up in Canada.
I swear, if we lived in a state where pot was legal, I'd probably lose 20 pounds just like that, just from the calories from alcohol. So,
Meanwhile, in Virginia, we're not even allowed to buy the hemp oil.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, Virginia will be like the second to last state to legalize pot. unless they figure out a way to profit from it, in which case there will be state stores that sell it and no one else can.
See, that was my idea. Pump it out through the ABC stores.
Okay, anyway,
You already got your distribution network all set up.
you light a lantern, you go walking down the street, or circuitously back to the Red Dog for dinner. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay, there's like a dozen people there when you get there, and Tandy waves
By
and
the way,
greets you. What?
The stars. I look up along the walk.
They are unrecognizable.
All completely different.
Completely different.
Well, that ain't good.
And there are 2 1/4 full moons. They appear to be identical. It's not 2 different moons. It's the same moon twice, 1/4 full.
Like being refracted.
I'm just telling you there's 2.
Okay.
What's up, sweetie?
I will hand.
I'm back. Who are we waiting on? Leslie? And Donald.
I'm just reading out a book Mercury fulminate.
I'm sorry, what?
Mercury fulminate. It's not that hard.
On how to make it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it made from some commonly available substance like dirt?
You dissolve mercury in nitric acid, and then you pour it into 95% ethanol.
Okay, ethanol they can make.
Nitric acid.
Nitric acid, baby. Gotta find mercury.
Mm,
And then the crystals form out of the solution.
Yeah, mercury would be the obstacle there, I think. Okay, so we're back, and you are on your way to the Red Dog. Is that where we are?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're looking at the sky. Yes, there are 2 moons. It is the same moon. Like the craters are in the same spot, and it's about 1/4 full. So that's fun. Assuming you don't do anything self-destructive between here and there, you get to the Red Dog. There are, I said a dozen. There's actually a couple of dozen people in there. Tandy sees you guys come in, waves hello, walks over to an end of a table, and shoos the guys who are sitting there. Says, "Hey, make room, make room, make room, you guys!" And she gestures you guys over. She makes introductions to Clem and Cletus and Sven and Olaf and Dorothy and June. It's men and women. It's like a mix.
Yeah.
And she introduces them to you. This is Anna. Wait, she thinks. Wait, hang on. I got it. It's Anna and John and Francisco and Michael? Yeah. I still got it. So, what do you folks want? I'm kidding. You only got one thing. You got stew and bread. So,
That sounds good.
what do you want to drink? You want beer? You want, we got beer, we got rye. I got that gin I've been testing out. It won't make you go blind, but it may make you vomit.
I think I'll stick to the beer.
4 beers?
well, take it 5.
All right, I'll be right back. She goes. The people at the table will look at you like you came from outer space because of the way you're dressed. And they're clearly looking at you.
Came from outer space.
Or the future.
The future. Because they all look like cowboys. Their hats are off because they're inside. And where do people all put their hats? That's something I've always wondered. Back when everyone wore, well, the men anyway, when they all wore hats, when they went inside, where'd they put them all?
There was usually a long row of hooks by the door.
On the hat rack, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. All right. Well, over there by the door, there's a long row of hooks.
If it was a really civilized place, you'd hang your gun belt on there, too.
All right. Well, you don't see a bunch of gun belts hanging up, but you do see a bunch of hats hanging up on the wall. Anyway, these guys look like cowboys. The cleanest cut of them looks like he's got about a 2 weeks growth of beard, because they ran out of razors 5 years ago. So, I mean, they can like sharpen it on a strap and all, but I mean, there's only so much you can do. So they're a bunch of grizzly, sweaty, green teeth looking Clint Eastwood extras. So, but they seem fairly nice, and they greet you, and about half the gentlemen say "ma'am" to Anna, because it's like that low threshold sexism that they're nice to you.
Yeah.
Nicer than average, anyway. So.
I'll
But,
probably have to answer the question of if I was in the Army with no, ship's captain.
So small talk ensues. Tandy brings out bowls of food. It's stew. It's lamb stew with a 3 or 4 vegetables in it that aren't exactly what you think they might be, but they're close approximations. Like there's a vegetable that is kind of like a potato, and there's a vegetable that's kind of like a carrot. So like that. But it's not bad. And beer, which is again not quite like beer. Oh, if any of your characters have ever had gluten-free beer, that's what it tastes like. So it's not quite beer, but it's almost beer, and it's not bad. It's just odd.
I've had some really good sorghum.
We'll just flow with it then.
Great one.
The Cowboys make conversation because you're the first new people they've seen in 6 months, and the first new people they've seen that didn't try to kill them in almost a year. So, you're novel. So, where are you folks from? One guy says, and you don't have to roleplay the whole thing, but basically you just tell them about where you're from and what you've been doing and what you did for a living, and half of the things you say don't make any sense to them, and they're like, so what is and they repeats what you said. Okay, the sea captain, they know what that is. But pretty much anything else you tell them, they don't really get it. Oh, the police officer from San Francisco, they're like, oh, Doc Sue's from San Francisco, maybe you know him. So, because you're Asian.
While that's going on, I'll take out like one of the little GoPro cameras that I keep on me, like that's got a playback feature on it. Like take motion pictures of them, and then just at some point when they ask me what I was doing, I'd tell them I was a cameraman, and I'll show them. That way, I can actually show them how it works.
They stand up and look horrified, or at least surprised. I mean, they're not superstitious cavemen. I mean, they're not gonna like, oh, you stole my soul. No, they're not like that. But it's like, holy, whoa, this. Wait! I've heard of this. Moving pictures.
Yeah. Exactly. Photography.
And one guy says, no, that's the devil's work. It's like, no, shut up, Cletus. No, I've heard of this. It's actually one picture at a time, really fast, so it looks like it's moving, like a flip book. You see a flip book, Cletus. Come on. And he's like, oh, yeah. And it's all inside that little box. It's like, yeah. Well, that's really something, mister. They all sit back down and eat their dinner. Yeah, they're not going to burn you as witches. This isn't that kind of place.
Well, they might after they meet me.
Well, not yet, anyway.
Yeah, not yet. Well, give me a little bit of time. I'm sure the pitchforks are
The fire elemental decides to throw fire around, then we might have problems.
Later on, Tandy brings out cold stewed fruit, and it's a weird combination. It's like if you crossed a lemon with a potato. It's not sweet, but it's as close as they can get to like preserves of some sort.
You won't get scurvy.
What?
You won't get scurvy.
No, it's you won't get scurvy. It's got a citric acid taste to it.
That's
So,
good.
but that's the dessert, and everybody seems to like it.
While we're there, I want to ask if there's a butcher since they have sheep.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Alright.
Bill down in the butcher shop, he takes care of all that. Yeah,
Alright.
we don't have any way to keep stuff cold. There's no ice house here because there's no ice, because nobody deliver ice. So it's all we can only slaughter what we can eat right away, and it's important we don't waste nothing because
Oh no.
ain't nobody bringing any supplies.
You,
You have a source of salt.
We do have salt. There's
Okay.
a place about
Good, yeah.
yeah. If you go now, it takes a trip to get there, so it takes a team of men, and it takes them about 3 days. And you usually take the wagon. Sam usually goes with them because Bob don't really listen to nobody but Sam, and that's only half the time. But if you go about a day and a half that way, inland, there's an area. It's all salt. I've been there twice, and it's like a big hollow area in the ground, and it's salt as deep as you can dig. So we go out there about once a year. We shovel up as much as we can put on the wagon and bring it back.
should be able to make jerky if you have salt then.
Well, yeah, standards of preserving meat at that time would be like either salting or smoking.
They don't really have any reason to do that, though. I mean, there's no winter,
Sure.
and the sheep are always here. So
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, I wanted to talk to him about fat because you need fat to make soaps.
well, there's what would they? Oh, we use that for making candles. He points at candles. The candles are lighting the place right now.
Yes.
Yeah, they he says Doc Sue does that. He knows how to make candles. And I think Debbie, Dwayne's daughter, she's helping him make candles, right? It's like, oh yeah, she's doing a great job. Yeah. Now, hard part is that little burny part in the middle, the wick, because we don't really have nothing to make those out of. I kind of tried to make it out of wool, and that smells something terrible. But that's all we got right now. But that's what he's using. So you do small talk about arts and crafts.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Is there anything like really important you guys want to talk about? Otherwise, we'll fast forward through the rest of dinner.
Okay.
Nothing leaps to mind. Nothing leaps to mind.
All right. Then you wrap up dinner. People just hang out and they drink beer until they get tired of doing that, and then they start going home.
We should probably follow the suit because, safety in numbers.
Okay.
As long as everybody else is leaving around this time, this would be the safest time to be leaving, right?
Makes sense.
Unless we're staying here until 2 a.m. and sneaking in the
Holy
dark.
shit. All right then. I rolled a 6, so let's see what we can give to you for fun.
Does that mean something?
Bum, bum, bum. Oh, here we go. Nope, not what I wanted. Let's try this one. Wow. All right. You're walking, and the town is about 1/3 deserted, and it's late-ish, so it's even more empty than usual. And you're not lost. You feel like you're about halfway to the McGillicuddy house, and out of the darkness, a thing attacks one of you. Let's see who it attacks. There's 4 of you, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of you. I missed count.
I espy a fuzzy pants. And looks like he's settling down to stay.
2, 1, 2. Donald, Captain.
You?
What? What's his first name? What's Captain Harrow's first name?
John.
John.
On,
You
yeah.
get 2 Johns. Oh, I guess that's why we're going by Captain
That's
Harrow's.
by Captain is there are two
Yeah.
jumps.
All right. That makes it easier. All right. So I had a picture for this actually. Terrifying. Oh, hey. First link. A thing comes out of the darkness and attacks Captain John, Captain Harrows. And it looks like that.
Whoa!
It has a vaguely alligatory sort of look. It's like it's much longer than it is tall. But the legs are actually imagine that these front legs look more like the back legs. It's shaped like a dog. And it's about the size of a very large dog. Not like Great Dane large, like Golden Retriever large. Okay?
Okay.
It's actually not as big as a real world alligator, quite. Which is how it snuck in, because it's not full grown. So it's only like
It's still got 16 different kinds of ugly, though.
it's very, very ugly. It's at its height, it comes up to about your hips. Like if it were not rearing up like in this picture, and it was just standing on its feet, the top of its head would be about level with your hip bone. So it's not small by any means. And it runs out of the darkness and chomps on, or attempts to chomp on, Captain Harrows. So let's...
Can I use my athletics to jump out of the way?
Well, first we're going to roll some initiatives, because why not?
Because that's what you do.
Let's say it kind of got the jump on you, so we'll call this agility. So roll a d6 and add your agility and tell me what you get. Wow, I rolled really well.
6 total.
Oh, high is good, by the way. High's always good.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't help things.
What'd you get, Craig?
3. You got anything to that?
3 total?
Oh no, yeah, that's how. Sorry, I was distracted. What do we have?
One D plus agility.
Yes. Okay. So 6.
What? 1d6 plus agility. 6?
Yep. 6.
So you got 6, and Donald got 6. What'd you get, Kieran?
I got 8 total.
Awesome. Leslie?
I got 6 as well.
Wow. Lloyd?
Am I using my new agility or my old agility?
You're the only person using your old agility. Everyone else, from this point on, you're using your total stats.
Then 6.
The only thing that changed was my power level. That's all.
Okay. So wow, we got a whole bunch of 6s, except for Kieran who rolled 8. That actually works out pretty well. All right, the big lizard rolled a 7, so it is charging out of the darkness and is clearly intending to sink its many teeth into Captain Harrows. However, before it gets a chance to, Anna can do something. What are you gonna do?
I do have a question for you, Brandon, real quick.
What's your question?
I can start using some of my stuff. I have danger sense.
Oh, roll it. Hang on.
Yeah, but you're not in danger. I am.
That's true. Hang on. Let me double check because I'm kind of doing this as a play test in a way. So, sense danger, avoid being surprised. For this particular moment, I'm going to say it wasn't going to attack you, so you don't get a roll for it. So,
I just want to ask.
but yeah, from this moment forward, you can role play learning your powers all you want, and I encourage you to do that. But everybody except Lloyd, you're using your full character sheet at this point. Okay? You all cool on that? I mean, you can kind of like role play not knowing how they work or realizing all of a sudden, hey, I can do X. But for all intents and purposes, just you have your whole character sheet right now. Except Lloyd, because screw you, Lloyd. All right. However, Anna,
so
Big Lizard is charging Captain Harrows and has every intention of taking a huge chunk out of him.
So even though I'm still not quite over getting getting over again. I'm still getting used to all this stuff. If she is as well trained, if Atlanta is as well trained as she is, she's going to outreact anyways. So, pull out my pocket knife, whip it open, and I have close combat. So, attack, aiming, attack with the knife. I have close combat, and I aim, try to like cut its throat out or something like that.
Makes sense to me. Now, on your character sheet, you have strike. Now,
Okay.
is that basically your ability to use any weapon effectively? Is that what that's about?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, you get 2d6 plus 3 for your agility. No, I'm sorry, it's close combat. So it's 3 for brawn. It's potato. But so 2d6 plus 3 for your brawn, plus 3 for your power level.
All right. So.
And the thing does not want to be stabbed by you, so it gets to roll to defend.
Alright, so 7 plus 3 plus 3, so 13.
Jesus Christ. All right, hang on.
The warrior. You're a warrior princess.
Pretty much. Okay, so the thing charges out of the darkness toward Captain Harrows. Anna, like, goes, and pulls her knife and charges and leaps and stabs and stabs and stabs. Which surprises literally everyone else, because everyone else rolled a 6, which is after the lizard. So everyone's just like, whoa! Let's see. You needed a 10 to hit, so 10. 11, 12, 13. So you did 2 health to the thing. It only has 3. So you basically are just like stabbing and stabbing and stabbing, and it makes like a hissing noise and attempts to flee. So on its action, you didn't grapple it or anything, so you just stabbed it. So it like, does that whole like alligator spinny thing, and then runs back off into the darkness, away from you.
Which I probably will not pursue or do anything, because what the hell did I just do?
Yeah, okay, 6. Everybody else. Go ahead.
Huh. Ain't that something?
No more beer for you.
Good job.
Well, all right then.
I did mention Grecian warrior.
Oh, I was talking about it, not you.
Oh.
That was, I mean, and don't get me wrong, that was impressive too, but... Huh.
Oh, it didn't
What the hell that was? Ugliest thing I've ever seen. Hey, you're the archaeologist. What is that thing anyway? I'm looking at Anna.
Try to pierce. I'm already thinking like, okay, where would this fall into dinosaurs? I'm more human history.
Big ugly lizard.
Huh? Sorry.
It's a big ugly lizard.
Yeah, it's a big ugly lizard.
I think that would be obvious.
Well,
Now, what were all these things when we were hunting them, when we were, looking for the cryptids?
as the roughly 9-foot long thing, you're like thinking about it as it was running away. You're thinking, you think that might have been a big land-dwelling crocodile that lived around 231 million years ago. Yeah, it was one of the top land predators right before the first dinosaurs appeared. So, as the adrenaline kind of like fades a little bit.
In other words, big ugly lizard.
Yes.
Carnifex carolinensis, meaning Carolina butcher. So that's fun.
A pre-dinosaur thing.
Yeah,
So
one of the family of lizards that appeared before dinosaurs proper actually appeared. So that's fun. You get back to the McGillicuddy house, and the rest of the evening passes uneventfully. It is hot as hell, and if you're anything like me, you have a really hard time getting to sleep.
I think
That is going to take some getting used to.
I'd probably have more trouble getting to sleep because there's nothing to sleep on.
Is there no sea breeze?
We're not close enough anymore.
Not where you are, no.
Okay.
Because the town has a wall around it, and you're in a house, and the house's windows have no glass. But even aside from that, there's like, it's just hot. It's just hot and humid.
I'm gonna play around with the junk on my pockets because I don't like this.
We are going to have to think about that.
Are you going to invent air conditioning?
At least a ceiling fan. Let's see how well the roll goes.
Home coolers aren't that tough to make.
Everybody else is struggling to get to sleep while they sweat to death. Meanwhile, you're downstairs tinkering with crap you dragged in from wherever. Make a roll, because you don't have that much, and either air conditioners or ceiling fans require things to either
Blades.
do heat transfer or fit blades, and those are both fairly specific things. So roll some dice. If you get a good roll, I'll tell you if you succeed.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
I'm rolling against you.
I rolled a 2 and a 4. Let me look at the.
Oh, add your reason. So 2d6 plus your reason.
I have to be furnished today.
Ranged combat.
What?
Reason plus power.
How is this? No, this isn't range combat. This is engineering.
Oh, okay. The environmental control says ranged combat.
Oh!
Rolls.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah, okay, add your power. Yeah, sure. You need 10 total.
Well, then I don't even need to. That's just my power level plus my thing plus 2d. So I don't even need to add my reason or reroll the 2. Yeah. Okay, I think I blew it out big time then.
What'd you get?
Oh, rerolled the 2 as a 6, so that's a 10 on the dice. Plus 4, plus 3, that's a 17.
Jesus Christ. All right. So you needed a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I'm using the optional, I forgot what I called it, but rolling better than you need. And you got 2 levels better than, yeah, great, awesome. You, with the bits and pieces you've got and some copper tubing you grabbed from the back of Sam's cart, and
A couple things you got the blacksmiths, I'm sure.
and a couple of things you pocketed at the blacksmith's, and here in the house you found a small flask of whiskey that's about half full, and using that as like a heat transfer fluid, you hook up a thing that actually absorbs the heat from the lantern on the floor and uses that as energy to then absorb more heat from the room, and has a small blower. It's a fan about yay big that you took out of the reel-to-reel tape recorder, which is used internally to cool the tubes. And essentially you have something about the size of one of those little 6-pack coolers, except it's bits and pieces of crap wired up next to a lantern that is fueled by kerosene that is blowing ice cold air out of it.
Sounds good.
And it takes about 10 minutes until the room you're in is a nice, comfortable 67 degrees.
Oh, much better.
Glad I decided to sleep downstairs.
Okay, so are you sleeping in the same room that Captain Harrows is, Lloyd?
Probably, yeah.
Well, there's the front room, which is the sitting room, and there's the back room, which is the kitchen. So you can sleep in separate rooms if you want, but you don't have to.
Oh, okay. I figured everybody else could use the upstairs, and we've got like one room for the girl, and Anybody else who wanted to sleep upstairs could. I was going to sleep downstairs just for security reasons.
All right.
So,
I would imagine.
was
Now,
convenient spot.
I'm projecting a little bit, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. It takes him a couple of hours to do this. So you're laying there sweating your ass off, trying to go to sleep. Meanwhile, Captain Jack Harris is over there is muttering about equations and copper tubings and heat thermal transfer calculations. He's talking aloud to himself, and he's twisting on things and turning screws and bending copper pipes, and he's doing this shit over here for like 2 fucking hours. At this point, it's got to be like 11 o'clock at night. It's still, Jesus, it's almost 80 degrees. What the fuck is this guy doing? So, and then eventually he goes, aha! And he puts it down and flips a switch, and it goes, and then it starts getting cooler.
Yeah, walk over, look at it.
Don't let anybody find that.
What are you using as a power source?
Lantern. Stirling engine.
The kerosene lantern next to it.
I've got some batteries in my pack if you need them. They're camera batteries.
No. It's fine. Stirling engine.
Okay. Walk back in where my sleeping bag is, drag my sleeping bag out to lay it like a foot away from this air conditioner, and go back to sleep.
Eventually, everybody goes to sleep. By morning, okay, heat rises. So by morning, it's probably about 75 degrees upstairs where, let's say, Michael and Anna are. And San Francisco, you upstairs with Michael or downstairs with the other two?
I was upstairs.
Okay, so you're upstairs with Michael, upstairs room. So you eventually get to sleep. You wake up in the morning, and I'm assuming all the doors are open so at least you get some airflow. And it's like 75. It's actually not too bad when you wake up. And everybody goes downstairs. When you get to the bottom of the stairs, it's like you're walking down the stairs, and it's like the temperature goes 70, 75, 74, 73, 72, 71, 70, 69, 68. What the hell? And you get to the bottom, it's like 65 degrees. And they're Captain Harrows and John are snuggled up in their sleeping bags on either side of this thing that's going.
Well, I'm assuming it's fire that I'm sure somebody down here can build an air conditioner. It's a weird place.
You know what? I don't care. You know, it's like camping. We can all sleep in one room. We'll just do our other, we'll use the other, do business in the other rooms.
Well, we're gonna need to set up a bathroom when you got the soap made.
Oh, who went out and looked at the shed? Oh, that was Donald's character, Captain Harrows. Actually, Captain Harrows, there's the outhouse. So at some point, someone will ask and you'll tell them. But so by this time, everybody knows there's an outhouse. He's out back and about 15 feet away from the back door.
Well, eventually we're going to want to turn one of the upstairs rooms into a bathroom when we have soap.
The only downside of that, unless we build plumbing into it, we're going to be lugging the water up and down the stairs then.
That's true. Then we might want to do it downstairs then.
And
We
just
don't really need the kitchen because we'll be eating at the
I wonder how much pipe we could make at the blacksmith shop.
Well, you need the metal.
Yeah, that's the only thing we're lacking.
You need a half-mile train track.
You've got a lot of iron around here. Cast iron pipe is easy.
Yeah.
I wonder how well these palm trees burn through the center.
So morning. It's morning in the Outland. At this point, people start knocking on your door because you're new and they're bored. So we're just gonna fast forward like a whole 2 days. 2 days of basically you saying the same things over and over to 200 people who one after the other come and visit you, and they'll bring you things. They bring you a cake made out of something that's almost flour. It's not sweet, but it's got a tang to it because it's made with that Mexican Indian citrus fruit, which is the closest thing they get to a dessert. So, and after 10 years, they're kind of used to it. They know that's as good as they're going to get. So they bring you that. Somebody brings you some of their homemade Mexican Indian citrus fruit brandy. And so you basically over the course of 2 days get anything that they can prepare that you can eat or wear, or a doll made from something that's almost a corn husk that somebody made. It's like just stacks of country arts and crafts crap and foods of various kind, prepared foods, that your kitchen cupboards are now full of this stuff.
Now, question, you said clothing. Is anything going to fit us well? Or do we have to...
Most of it's too small. These people are they're all super skinny. There's not a single fat person in town that you've met so far. There's actually one guy who's about the same size you are, but you haven't met him yet.
Okay.
I'll make that 2.
Well, we can adjust things.
So 2 days go by. By this time, you've figured out how to make, I'm sure between the set of you, you figured out how to make blinds to kind of cover the windows to make this little air conditioner unit more efficient. So you can close the blinds at night, turn the AC, whole house gets to like 70 degrees within like half an hour. So,
It's important to start with the basics.
One of the things I'm doing over the next 2 years, the next 2 weeks is or 2 days, whatever, is I'm found a nice long piece of wood and I'm starting to cut myself a staff. And I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing this.
Sure.
Oh, at some point, do introduce myself to the doctor.
Oh, Doc Sue. Yeah, he's one of the people who comes and visits you. So let's introduce you to Doc Sue. Where are we at? Yeah, there we go. Doc Sue. This fella, we'll say on the first day, comes and says hi. And he's dressed in an actual suit like this. He's the nicest dressed person you've seen so far. It's clearly kind of threadbare because he's been wearing it for 10 years. But he's the nicest dressed person you've so far. And he's also the most carefully groomed person you've seen so far. He has a beard and mustache, but it's trimmed fairly closely. And he's a nice fella. He comes by and says hi. He introduced himself. He's like, oh, good morning. I am Dr. Sue. And he has I'm not going to keep doing it because it's going to sound like I'm making fun of him, and I'm not. But he has like a distinct Chinese immigrant accent. But his English is actually really it's way better than you guys actually, a lot of you speak Chinese, so that might not be true. It's way better than my Chinese. So he has an accent, but his English is really good. He knows idioms. He's lived in America for like 20 years. So he just still has like kind of an accent. He's thrilled to see John Erlang. He's like, well, hi, I was told there was someone else. Are you from China?
Actually, I'm from San Francisco.
So am I. Actually, my parents are from China. Yours too?
No, my parents have lived in San Francisco. Keep in mind that, my family's lived in San Francisco since about 1850.
That's right. You're from the future.
Yes.
The 2000 and something, yes?
19, yeah.
Wow, amazing. 1876 when we got here. So who knows now, right? I'm Dr. Sue. And he introduced himself around. He's brought you. Everybody's like brought you stuff. He's brought you a bundle of those tooth chewing root things.
Oh, okay, good.
He's like, yeah, no toothbrushes, and we have a dentist, but he's more of a barber. He's a really good barber, but not so much a good dentist. So if I were you, I'd keep good care of your teeth. So chew on these after every meal, and rinse with water when you can. So he will ask you the same 30 questions everybody else asks you: where you're from, what do you do, what's it like where you're from, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
I do greet him in Chinese when he says hello.
Oh, How good is your Chinese?
Merchant Marine Tradesman Chinese.
Okay, so you've got a pretty horrible American accent, and that's fine.
Yeah, but it's yeah.
Chances are I've probably
Well,
got
I
a
also-
American
I
accent too.
I was gonna say I do have the linguist gift, so not that bad.
Well, that will kick in when you're around when you are around native Chinese speakers. Your accent will improve over time. But for now, we can say it's just shitty American.
Yeah, no, it's definitely trade Chinese, not educated Chinese.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll say but the linguist thing will allow you to refine your pronunciation over time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he seems like a pleasant guy. He asked at some point if you guys have any medical problems that might need addressing. So he's a doctor.
I'll mention to him that I've had medical training myself. I'm not a doctor. But I could probably pass as a nurse in bad light and a trauma specialist. So.
Well, I can tell just from talking to you. Well, he asked you a couple of fairly basic medical questions, circa 1875.
Right.
So, if someone said this and they were suffering from this, what do you think that would be? Or this particular part of the body is inflamed. What would you do? That kind of thing. Just to feel you out what your medical knowledge is, and you have medic as a skill, right?
Yes. Medicine.
Okay, yeah, you nailed them. They're all fairly basic questions. Like, well, I can tell right now, you're a step above Bob the Barber. So, if I need help, I will certainly come to you.
I'm terrible at cutting hair, though.
No, that's fair. He's a really good barber.
Does he do razors? I mean, does he shave people?
We do have a few razors, but actually metal has a very hard time around here. So
Probably because it's so humid.
I think you're right.
I'm not one that's very fond of a beard.
Oh, well, I'm sure he can help you with that. Look, he's trimming up quite nicely. See? Anyway, he just shoots a breeze. Is there anything particular you want to know from him, other than just knowing who he is?
Well, where his office is.
Oh, he describes where it is to you in town. It's fairly near Main. It's on Main Street.
And over the next couple of days, during the time that we're here, especially during the day, get a layout of just go through the town and get a layout of the place. Once I figure out where the brothel, I forget the name of it is.
Bittersweet.
Okay, yeah. Once I find out where that is, I'll know how to avoid it. So, but I wanted to find out what the rest of the town is, how the rest of the town is like that.
Okay. Yeah, you guys can figure that out. It's not hard.
And any of the electronic equipment that I pulled out of the truck, I'll give that to, since apparently the captain is now turning into a scientist. I'll pull that out and see if there's anything he can use, because it's actually high-tech electronics rather than Stirling engines.
Well, he can figure it out. He has.
If you need any of this, I don't think we're going to need a camera or anything like that, and we certainly aren't going to need the spare backup batteries I've been carrying around for the cameras. So.
Okay. Yeah. Can always
Yeah,
use
we might want to go back to the van and see if we can salvage anything else that our friend here, the instant inventor, can use. Not to mention, we might be able to salvage some metal from the van that we could use.
Well, if you want iron and steel, you got plenty of it here. Oh, by the way, the train suspension, the wheels on it, I'm reasonably certain that there are huge chunks of lead that they use in that as part of the suspension. Just an FYI.
Interesting.
Then we need to access that.
Yep.
All right, so let's say on day 2, when the crowds of people who want entertainment start to thin out, You guys can actually leave the house.
Also for entertainment, every morning when I get up, I do like a good half hour of Tai Chi.
Okay, that's more like what the town. It's bigger than the previous map. It's actually
There we go.
a good-sized town.
Yeah.
Originally. So where it says Allen Street, about 2/3 of the way down, that's actually what they call Main Street. And the railway runs kind of diagonally through the town because the town came first and then there was a rail, because it just did. So the rail actually intersects the far left word Allen. See where it says Allen on the far left? Okay, that intersection right there, the train tracks run diagonally right through that intersection. So you guys are to the right and down from that intersection. That's where you. Oh no, that was the. That's the blacksmith. All right, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you guys are. Fuck it. So, anyway, you're over on the left-hand side. The red dog is over on the right-hand side. Somewhere right in the middle is the bittersweet. So you kind of have to make an arc north and then east and then south again to like completely circumvent the area where the bittersweet is. So
or south to the edge of town and then east.
And then east and then north again. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That works too. All right, there you go.
Where's the provisioner shop?
Far west end. You guys came in from the west end at the gate where the rails come in from the northwest. The rails come in from the northwest and go out to the northeast. The rails come in from the northeast and then go out the southwest.
Okay, so like
if I'm reversed on my screen, it'd be like this. The rails go like this.
Okay.
Whereas Main Street goes diagonally.
So like we don't have to worry too much about avoiding the place to do the provisioners, the blacksmith shop, our place.
No, you don't.
Just Dr. Sue and the Red Dog and Sheriff's Office and that kind of stuff is the other side of town, right?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay.
Sadly, this is not a case where the wrong side of the tracks actually means anything. Because almost the entire town is on the eastern side of the tracks, including everywhere you've been so far.
Mm-hmm.
The western side of the tracks is just like a little corner of the town, which is at this point mostly abandoned. In fact, we can say that's where the McGillicuddy house is in that northwestern corner of the town on the other. You are on the wrong side of the tracks. So that is also the side that has the lake or sea or whatever it is, because the train tracks actually run parallel to the coast. The town's walls do not. It's like a corner is pointed at the water.
Okay.
All right, is that cool? Everybody got that? All right, fine. So, I'm sorry. Where were you going? I think we were doing something there, and I got sidetracked.
I think we're going to go get some lead out of the train.
Oh, go out to their locomotive. Great. You guys all roll out to the locomotive.
Blacksmith shop.
Mm-hmm.
What about the blacksmith shop?
I said go play with the blacksmith shop.
Yeah.
You're not interested in the lead?
Well, no, the train is right there by the blacksmith shop, and we're going to need the blacksmith shop to get to.
It is fairly close.
It's
in modern parlance like half a block away. The locomotive is like half a block away from the blacksmith shop.
Yeah.
All right.
Just leave the tools for making the bullets alone with all your tinkering, please.
There is coal at the blacksmith shop. You can get the forge going if you want. The locomotive is rusty. It's been sitting there for 10 years in the humidity and heat, but it's mainly intact. So you do find big pieces of lead that have been bolted to the frame of the locomotive in places, which are used as a what's the word? They use it to prevent corrosion, and to a certain extent it has worked. The locomotive itself is way less rusty than the tracks, for example.
They also, with the wheels, basically the wheel assemblies join the bed of the vehicle that's on top of it. Since they're so heavy and you're talking about iron, instead of using rubber as cushioning material. They're actually using like big lead billets that are bolted in between like the bed of the train car and the wheels.
Cool.
I don't know why I know that, but
We are going to get as much lead out of those trains
Well,
as possible.
those of you who have engineering as a skill,
I do.
poke and prod and find literally hundreds of pounds of lead. Hundreds of pounds of lead on the locomotive
Where
in
let's-
various places.
AKA plenty.
More than you will ever need.
We better bury it.
Unless Donald invents a Gatling gun, in which case you're going to go through it pretty quickly.
As soon as we get the forge going and we have a fire of any kind, as soon as I get my first brick of lead, we're going to start making bullets. And we're going to make them. We're going to make them for Sam's gun and the sheriff's gun specifically.
Yeah,
All right.
I say we're gonna start with a shotgun round for Sam that I will personally deliver.
Yeah, and for the sheriff, she needs it too.
Okay.
I
You
want to get
have a limited supply of the things to make primer caps. You
Yeah.
have enough black powder or gunpowder to make tons and
We're
tons
gonna
of
have
bullets.
to
That's not
find.
good. But as far as the mercury fulminate, your supplies of that is a bottle about yay big.
Okay.
So actually, that's a shitload, isn't it? That's like hundreds
have-
and hundreds of bullets.
I have chemistry.
Never mind. You've got enough. Okay, great. You have tons. Your limitations at this point are the brass things.
Yeah.
You know, fuck it. Yeah, you can make 1,000,000 bullets. Don't worry about it.
Well, the good thing about the cartridges is that they don't wear out. If you've got empty brass, you can reuse them dozens of times because black powder is too low pressure to actually damage them.
Okay. So
Donald is playing. I'm making bullets.
you're making so the thing that limits your supply of bullets is time.
Yeah.
How's that?
I'll make
You have all
enough
the raw materials you need.
As
You
I
just
see what
time.
everyone's starting to do, I think, guys,
for maybe about 5 more shots for both the sheriff and for Sam.
So Lloyd, how long does it take to make a bullet?
Using the system that you're talking about right now,
Yeah.
a few minutes.
Really?
All right.
Oh, come
take a
on. You
shot.
gotta melt the lead, you gotta pour the thing, you gotta put it in the water.
Well, if you're making shotgun ammunition, it's easy because all you're doing is taking the lead and pouring it into a big container full of water.
Bloop,
Because
bloop,
you're just
bloop,
making
bloop.
lead pellets.
Oh, that makes sense.
Drip it in, you literally drip it in there. The longer you take to drip it, the bigger the pellet is. You'll need something as a wad, but anything will work. Like
You
asbestos.
have a warehouse of wool.
Yeah. You'll need something to cap it with, but again, you can use pretty much anything, and you'll need something to seal it with. Paint will work. But you're assembling the thing. You're talking primer, powder, wad, pellets, top, lacquer it. Yeah, it's a couple of minutes per bullet.
Well, we don't want to make too much anyway because we don't want to attract edgelords' attention. So
Yeah, I mean, a day's worth would probably be about somewhere between 10 and 20 rounds.
that's enough for both of them, for the sheriff and for Sam.
Okay.
I mean, keep in mind that these
that's
aren't going to Vietnam.
that's
So,
going to find out, and we're going to have big trouble on our hands.
What were you saying, Craig? I didn't hear you.
I'm going to say for everybody that as I see what's going on here, I strongly suggest that as soon as we even start this, I'm sure Edgelord has his spies or whatever. We're going to have big trouble on our hands.
we're using this. I was gonna say let's use the smithy then, like for something else, so it looks like we're not here just to make bullets.
That would help. Yep.
Like, hey, this thing looks like it would make a good knife, a good blade. Just needs to be sharpened.
Actually,
Funny you should mention that, though, Craig.
weird feeling we're about to go into sword manufacturing, too.
You have a bunch of like raw iron, and
here, like what occurred to my character.
if you want to go get it, you've got literally miles of railroad track you can sand all the rust off of and use,
I don't know. You just torch it off.
or whatever.
You lose the oxides, but whatever. You're losing that by sanding. No, you just feed rusty metal right into the smelter.
Okay.
I think the only problem is I don't think the forge is going to be hot enough to forge steel. You're good for iron.
Hot. We'll see about that.
We have our fire-making friend here.
I was going to say, a standard blacksmith doesn't need to forge steel. All he needs is iron. So
Yeah.
basically, you're just going to have to convert the coal furnace into a blast furnace.
So who here actually? Oh, Donald.
Yes.
This forge is set up for ironworks, which is more than adequate for that. However,
Right.
you can think of a few minor alterations that would make it suitable for steel. You'd need to invent a couple of things. Something to turn essentially turn it into a blast furnace. And
Yes, man. Yeah.
you think you'll need some, and you're like mentally making a laundry list of the things you'll need to do that. But sure, 2 days tops, focusing exclusively on that, and you could make this first quality, well, maybe not first quality, but at least decent steel out of this arrangement with a few minor alterations.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, this guy comes in and says, well.
Oh, no. Is that him?
Who heard the cliche?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what everybody said.
I said, who ordered the cliche?
Keep clicking the wrong window. All right. So he comes. Oh, hang on. I stopped that. So this fella, who looks like an extra from a Clint Eastwood spaghetti western, walks in, looks around. He's got a piece of straw in his teeth, and he's sucking it in the most annoying manner.
This is Lord.
He says, "So what? You know the new folks in town everybody's talking about."
Yes, that's correct. John Erlang, good to meet you.
Good to meet you
between him
too.
and everybody else.
I'm Jacob. He reaches out to shake your hand. Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
And you.
So you folks fancy yourselves blacksmiths? Well, that's gonna be some kind of handy.
We're trying.
Just want you folks to know, fella, and he like wanders around and looks at the forge. He gives Francisco the old evil eye, and he looks around. And he's packing. He's got pistols. He's got a pair of pistols.
At one point, he looks at the forge. I go, oh yeah. You see, that's all wrong. That's all got to change. That's not going to work at all. Don't bother looking at that.
I'm sitting on whatever I was trying to do to hide it as much as possible.
You're over at the bench where you make ammunition. You just like pull an oil cloth over some pieces.
And then I'm sitting down on the rest.
Completely innocent. His pistols are aimed the wrong way. Like the one on his left has the handle pointing to the right, and the one on his right has the handle pointing to the left.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Sorry, what?
Cross draw.
Cross draw, yes, that's what that's called. Anyway, so he roams around, he looks over at Anna. Anna, you got the fascinating gift, right?
Yeah.
Okay, nobody so far has really shown Anna an untoward amount of attention. They notice she's a lady, and they say, ma'am, that kind of thing. But nobody's like stared or drooled or made rude comments or anything. This guy is the exception to that. He's staring at her, and he's like, "Hoo-wee! Well, what do we have here?" And he like saunters up to her in a fashion most elaborate.
Catton's gonna slide on over to John and go.
This is going to be messy.
How long before he's a gelding?
I'm not even going to give it 5 minutes.
Well,
I was kind of hoping we could avoid this, but yeah, the inevitability is hanging over us like a sort of Damocles.
A hanging sword! Brilliant!
what is your name, little lady?
It's Anna, and Oh, sorry. I had something and it just went out of my head.
I had something for this. We're close to wrapping up, I think.
Yeah. Okay. It's hard to be witty at 10:20 at night. Yeah.
Well, he takes off his hat and he bows. I'm Jacob, and I'll have you know I'm something of a big deal around here. So, why don't we say you take your leave of these gentlemen and head on with me out to the Bittersweet, and you and I have us a time.
I'm too busy right now. Thank you.
Oh, honey, that was not a request.
I don't care.
Oh, God. It's going to be like a minute. 1 minute and he loses his junk.
I'll put this another way. He pulls a gun. He says, if you want that pretty face of yours, and he kind of like waves it in your general direction.
How close is he? But at this point,
You could reach out and touch him, but just barely.
okay.
He's
So-
clearly threatening you.
Yes.
He's kind of playing it off as like he's being playful, but he's clearly threatening you.
Oh, the minute he pulls his gun, he's getting his. I'm going to hit his arm, hit his arm, and send it, disarm him.
Okay. I got a rule for that. Hang on.
All right, I'm pretty sure she's got this well in hand, Brandon. Check for witnesses.
See if he's got backup.
Disarm him.
You like.
And,
Okay,
and
so
if to it, I want to him ending on his back on the ground, out of breath, preferably, because I want to. It's gonna be disarm and throw and hard throw if possible.
all right. No, it's funny. I don't have a rule for disarming. I should add that.
Yes, you should.
So
But I
we're gonna
just-
say it's like one step harder than just hitting him. Does
Okay.
that sound reasonable?
That
All right.
sounds-
Meanwhile, John Erling sidles over to the door. The great big doors to the place, and they're wide open because there's like a forge here, and it's gonna get even hotter than hell if you don't have the great big doors open. So you slide over and you like look out there, and you don't see anybody lurking around. He doesn't seem to have anybody with him.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Sounds reasonable. So Anna
Anna,
is gonna
what?
like. You want to knock it out of his hand, or you want to take it away from him?
Whichever one is flashier and nastier.
Well, taking it away from him is.
Yeah, I think
definitely
taking
flashier.
it away from him.
Okay, taking it. I will take
Putting
it.
it in his face.
All right. You're gonna need to roll 6 higher than what I roll.
Okay, so I'm rolling 2d6.
Right. Oh, I rolled
What?
really well too.
Remember, if you have expertise, to reroll ones and twos.
All right.
Hang on. I don't think she does actually. Hang on a second.
I don't have. I have close. I have close
Oh, she does.
combat and.
Anna
branch
has.
combat.
Oh, Jesus. Anna's got expertise in tons of stuff. So, yeah. Any ones or twos you roll, you re-roll.
All right.
And let me see. He might even be surprised. Let me see.
Yeah, because pretty little thing just did something.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this comes as a surprise because he is not expecting this. So
Alright.
you get a bonus die. So you
Alright, so I
roll
roll-
3 dice.
Oh, so I rolled 3 dice. Sweet.
And this is
And
not a
I've got-
strike.
I've got Captain John's line all set up.
So is it? Sorry, say that last part, Brandon.
This is not a strike, so it's just
Not-
your agility plus 3d6.
Agility plus 3d6. All right, so that's agility is 3. 9, 14 plus 3 is 17.
And any ones or twos you rolled on those 3 dice, you re-roll.
Yes, I did not need to.
Okay. He rolled a total of 9. So you need to roll a 6 higher than that, which would be 15. And you got...
17.
Okay. So he's kind of like flaunting his pistol in front of you, and then all of a sudden you're aiming it at him. And he's like... It takes him... You can see like the wheels turning in his head. Click, click, click.
While
Click.
that's happening,
Tarnation!
while that's happening, I say, shouldn't draw on a lady. It ain't safe.
It's safe.
it takes like a full 15 seconds for him to process what just happened. Let me see what happens after he processes that, because this is outside his experience. Reason roll. Oh, that could have been better. He goes, "You better give that back to me. I bet you don't even know how that thing works."
Yeah.
Oh boy.
This guy's just handing out famous last words.
Yeah, I believe I speak for all of us. We all openly laugh at that comment. Just to make it clear to him that he's in big trouble right now.
What do I have in my hand now? Which style of gun?
What would it be, Lloyd? Like a cavalry revolver?
Oh yeah, it's my 1951 Colt 80 conversion.
It's just a
It's the most
basic,
common gun.
boring cowboy revolver.
Yeah.
So, it's not anything special. It's not a great revolver, but it puts bullets in people. So,
Hmm.
and it's actually only got 4 bullets in it. So, anyway, he reaches out for it and intends to take it away from you. I'm just gonna give you the initiative on it. He's reaching out for it and intends to grab it and take it away from you. What do you do?
I don't want to waste bullets, so I immediately flip it over to the handle and use it as a weapon. It's like I know it's like it's saying, wait, why would I want to waste the damn bullets?
Wait a minute. No, I'm making bullets. Waste a bullet.
Waste the bullet? Right, okay, waste the bullet. All right.
No,
Aim at his foot.
no, oh, okay. I was gonna
Wait, no, go ahead. Do what I was gonna do. Okay, we go. Yeah, I was like, I don't want to waste the bullets. Flip it around and use it to take out to take him down because it's now a nice solid weapon in my hand.
Okay, this would be close combat, which is you have
Fast
expertise, so it's 2 dice, but re-roll 1s and 2s plus your agility. No, brawn. For close combat.
Doesn't
is
matter
brawn.
to me. Brawn,
Oh,
agility.
your stats are the same. Never mind. I have a total of 6. You need to roll better than 6 to hit me.
Oh, I don't even need to look. Add my brawn to that. So let's see. 9 plus 3 is 12.
Good God. 4. Okay, 4 is 1. 5, 6, 7 is 2. 8, 9, 10 is 3. You rolled what?
12.
12.
Okay. 3. You do. You flip the gun around and you whack him across the forehead with it. He crumbles. And he's just like on the ground for a minute, like on his. He's not even on his hands, his knees. He's like on one elbow on the ground, like holding his head like this. And he like looks up at you, like, what the hell are you?
Swell, aren't
Somebody who's better.
You're gonna pay for that. You're gonna pay for that. And he like scrambles toward the door.
you? Captain John goes, son, she warned you. Where we come from, you don't make any moves toward a lady till you invite it.
Does anyone stop him from scrambling toward the door and running away? Because otherwise he does.
Or where you're gonna have problems.
What'd you say, Lloyd?
I said, nope, not me.
Okay.
What
I
did
knew
you say?
his hat as he goes out the door.
Is this one of those things I might want to try and use some of my powers for?
Like what?
We don't want him to leave. Somebody trip him, and I'm concentrating on this.
Oh, you
So
don't want him
he's
to-
not standing. He's crawling.
Oh, if you say don't let him leave, I won't let him leave.
And I'll put pressure in that, aka telekinesis, if I have to, if I can make it work.
If you say
Well-
don't let him leave, I flip the gun around, I cock it, and say, you can just stay right there for a minute.
Yeah, no, you say don't let him leave. I'll stand in front of the door.
Okay. So a couple of you block his exit. Kieran, why don't you make a 2d6? Oh, you got fascinating. I'll give you a bonus on this. So 3d6 plus your presence.
36 plus my presence, alright.
Ooh, I rolled really well. You need an 11.
Dang, I rolled crap. I didn't roll it too well anyways. I rolled an 8.
It's better you roll it now.
Oh wait, do I get to roll? Do I have
This would be manipulation. So actually, you don't have that skill. So drop it back to 2d6, and you don't get to re-roll anything. So yeah, apparently you rolled shit.
I rolled it.
You didn't roll 11? Okay. Well, there are people in his way. He's not cowed. There are people in his way, and he's like, you all better let me leave. I got friends. I got friends in this town. I'm somebody. And he's still on the ground crawling.
Okay, Michael, why are we not letting him leave?
If he goes and tells the Edgelord, we're going to have more problems.
We're going to have more problems anyway.
All you're gonna have problems.
Other than that, we dig a shallow grave and bury his ass here. I mean, those are our options.
No, we use him for fuel.
Fuel?
I've just decided he's not leaving. I don't know how I'm going to do it because I don't know I have these powers.
No. He tries to stand up. He's starting to stand up, and he rolls.
Push him down. He either physically or mentally. I don't know. He's not
Or we could let you leave, and you could go tell your boss that if he causes no trouble, we cause no trouble.
All right,
We don't
let's see.
power.
Indeed.
His bluster is really, really good, but let's see how smart he is.
I don't want trouble unless it's brought to me.
Oh, you didn't want trouble. You messed up. Because you got it now, son. You got some big trouble.
Excuse me, you're the one who started this. So calm your little panty waist down. You are the one who drew a gun on the little girl who knocked you to the floor when you failed to be polite afterward.
Well, he wasn't polite in drawing the gun in the first place. He was offering it to me then, right?
Now, you see, where we come from, people are polite. And they do not act like you just acted.
This ain't over. This ain't over by a long shot.
Oh, it never.
The forge was going to need fuel anyway. They'll never find the bones.
Bones?
Bones.
Bones.
Now hold on. We can come to an arrangement. Maybe this is just a misunderstanding, right?
That's what I thought it was. Pointing to, I'm sure you were just showing off your guns.
He like scrambles over to his hat, which is over there on the ground. Somebody threw it to him. He goes, and he holds it on his chest. And he's still on the ground. He goes, I meant no disrespect, ma'am. I was simply showing you my gun. That's all. It's a fairly nice piece, don't you think? After you're done with it, why don't you hand it back to me, and I'll be on my way.
No.
Let the lady have it. She likes the gun.
We happen to let you on your way, but I think I'll keep this.
But it's my gun.
Oh, a memento. How sweet. Don't bucket, kid.
But it's my gun.
Don't bucket, kid.
I can't leave without my gun.
You still have another one, don't you? Or that he had two, right?
Oh, actually, he did have two. He's like, oh, well, all right. I guess that's fair. All right. Why don't you accept it as a gift of token of my esteem?
That
Ma'am?
sounds like a fair idea.
Ma'am? And I'll just be on my way now.
I really don't think
She's going to need a belt.
What?
She's going to need a belt.
Guys, out of character, I really don't think he's gonna need. We want to let him go because he'll get his Bravo back.
No.
Yeah, but Leslie, what are we going to do? You kill him here and then bury him in a shallow grave in the floor? What?
I
can't do anything
No,
about it.
no.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm role playing here, but I can actually mind control. I just don't know how to do it, and I don't know how to go about role playing doing it. I can look him in the eye, and I can tell him, to the best of my ability, he's going back to the Edgelord, and he's going to tell him we're wonderful people, and just to leave us alone, and we probably won't bother him.
Well, this could be something that just comes second nature to your character.
A Jedi mind trick thing.
Yeah.
Actually, telepathy. Let's see. You've got telepathy and you got mind control. So let's check this out.
Yeah.
Told you I'm a mentalist.
Yeah, so it's something you just get it in your head that you can do this.
Yeah, you don't even have to say it.
I'm gonna say it.
Especially as shaken as he is.
Okay. Between telepathy and mind control, you can tell him what you want him to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, hey, you know, we're very nice people. Why don't you go back to the Edgelord and tell him you met us, you liked us. I don't think we're going to be bothering him, and I don't think he needs to bother us.
Roll 2d6.
That's my power, right?
And add your
Be my power.
presence plus power level.
What is my
And I will compare it to what he rolls. Rolled okay.
Where's my press?
Your presence is 2. Your power level is 5. Jesus. Alright, so 2d6 plus 7.
And let's see, that's 9 plus 7.
So 16.
Holy fuck. Alright, so he got a 9. So 9 is 1. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you get 3 on him. So Michael walks over and says what Leslie just said, and the guy says, well, you all seem like reasonable folks to me. And he stands up and he dusts off his hat and puts it on. Well, yeah, I think everything looks fine here. Oh, can I have my pistol back, please?
Why don't you're done looking at that. Why don't you give him back his pistol?
Okay. Yeah,
Nice.
fair enough. Sure, thank you for showing it to me.
My pleasure, ma'am. He puts it in his belt and says, you folks have a nice day. And he just walks out.
Not that I wanted that piece of crap, so anyway. It's not
junk, it's just nothing special.
That's nothing special, okay. Never mind.
Alright. On that, we can consider ourselves wrapped up unless anybody wants to do anything else.
Well, Michael's gonna shake his head and say, what did I just do?
Yeah, that was weird. It seemed like second nature. You just walk over to him and it's like, these are not the droids you're looking for. And the guy just gets up and walks out. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. These aren't the droids I'm looking for. And then he just walks out.
Reasonable.
What did I just do?
All right then. Has this been okay? Is this worth continuing?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Cool. I just like all the cowboys and the craziness and yeah.
In which case,
again.
this has been Pirates of the Mesozoic. And we've been Craig Smith, Donald Von Griffin, Karen Torres, Leslie Denneberger, Bud Montgomery, and me, Brandon Blackmore. Yeah, don't draw your pistol on a lady. It's just not nice.
Not a nice thing to do.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night. And I'm turning into a pumpkin now.